I grew up in Bleach.
Yeah.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is July 13th, 2020. This is episode 218. Welcome, everybody. This week, we've got Waif-Fare Is Fired. And you know me, I'm not your echo chamber, but I'm your best buddy, Basil.
And this is Gonz. Welcome to another episode of the podcast where we talk about all the news out there and we try to come at it from a biblical perspective, or at least a fringy biblical perspective.
Wow, catchy.
Yeah, super catchy. Well, it's not a tagline. I'm just explaining what we are for first-time listeners.
An academic explanation of what we do here.
Sure.
Very good, Gonzo. Let's see. Today's Monday, first show of the week here, so we're gearing up. Anything exciting happen over the weekend?
Nothing too exciting. I did hit 264,000 subs on YouTube without getting a whole bunch of subscribers deleted. At least not yet. We're stuck on the.
You finally made it.
Yeah, I cracked that glass ceiling. Although again, they may just once they notice, they might start doing like the 200, 300 sub minus negative.
Yeah. They heard you complaining so much, so they thought they'd just let you hit that little goal, and it all starts again.
I know, but then I think after this broadcast, because there's a pattern. Every time I post anything, a video, anytime we do a live stream, about 100 to 200 unsubs. So either I'm really bothering people and normal people that are like, because we still get the comments, what happened to Face Like the Sun? Worthless channel now, another good channel dead, stuff like that. So I think your
YouTube
googly
is so
eyes.
Mean.
I know. Yeah, your googly eye still hits people the wrong way for people that haven't checked out the channel for a while, and then all of a sudden, they don't realize that we've been podcasting for nearly 10 years. But
well, that's what we
different
do.
Places.
We're rattling cages across the internet here, Gonz, and
with those googly eyes.
Yeah, the googly eyes really triggers people. Well, that's fine with me. I'm okay with
it. It does. I also had a crazy dream.
Oh.
Yeah, I won't get into it, but you were there.
Oh, cool.
You were trying to save me, but you didn't really help.
Well, at least I tried.
You were without your mask, so maybe that was
that's
part
why
of the problem.
I didn't succeed. The mask is where all my power comes from, like any good superhero.
Sure.
Yeah, but it doesn't protect me from COVID, though.
Anything exciting for you? Oh yeah, lockdown in our neck of the woods.
Gavin re-locked down.
Re-locked down. Gavin Newsom decided, that we. And the thing is, we're locked down for 3 days.
What?
Locked down for 3 days.
Why 3 days? What is the point?
I don't know.
That?
I don't know. Maybe he thinks that the town can resurrect in 3 days. I have no idea
what is the scientific reason to shut down for 3 days.
Science.
There's literally no scientific reason to shut down for 3 days. What is the deal?
Maybe I don't know what 3 days is going to do.
You know what? I have some theories while you bring that up. So as we know, a lockdown is only sufficient if it's for 14 days or more, which is the dormant period, and the, I forget the scientific name, but the period of time it takes for COVID to go away or present itself. Yeah. So, if you're going to lock down for 2 weeks, then you either let COVID run its course with people who catch it, or people who are non-symptomatic and about to manifest symptoms. That gives them a chance to manifest symptoms, so they're not walking around spreading the disease, even though the official medical, statements of the WHO is that it doesn't really spread it's very rare for an asymptomatic person to spread it, but that's beside the point. So a lockdown for 3 days has no scientific reasoning behind it, except for maybe they, maybe somebody put in a permit for a protest during those 3 days, and they got to have a good reason to not allow that. Or, I don't know, Gons, maybe they're putting up those 5G towers.
Yeah. Yeah, they're shutting down fitness centers, places of worship, offices for non-critical sectors, personal care services, hair salons and barbershops, malls, and dining restaurants, wineries, movie theaters, family entertainment centers, zoos, museums, card rooms, bars.
Card
So,
rooms.
yeah. It's weird though, because it's like specific businesses, almost as if they want certain businesses to shut down, certain small businesses to just, not have the capacity to stay open.
Of course.
It's very shifty.
Now, I don't know if you're seeing this. Okay, it's climbing up a little bit. Viewership numbers are about normal, a little low, but we're still early in the show. But Twitch numbers are incredibly low. In fact, we are sitting at 66 viewers.
Oh, no.
Yes. So we
They're
need
on
more
to
people.
us.
Wherever you're watching this, head to twitch.tv/Canary Cry Radio. We can't just sit on 66 viewers. Everybody will know that we're shills or something. Anyways, what do you say we get into the show, Guns?
Let's do it. We got a Flippy update?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
Okay, for those who don't know, Flippy is our colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. And it's true. It's happening, but we also use it as a proxy conversation to discuss the technocracy and how robots and artificial intelligence are worming their way into our lives. But today, Gons, I kind of have a little bit more of a comprehensive Flippy update conversation to have.
Okay.
As we've been live streaming, lots of new people tuning in, and we try to give as much of a background and comprehensive view of things like the Flippy update as much as we can. But I figured I'd take the opportunity, since we've got a mainstream outlet here talking about it, to round out the ideas and a little bit of the full-scale sort of global idea behind what we call the Flippy update and what the rest of the world calls the future. So I'm going to read this article from independent.co.uk. This is going to be a little bit longer, but I think it's a pretty good comprehensive look at what we're talking about. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay. Oh gosh, the cats are circling. They're circling me. I can't see them, but I can hear them, and I don't know what's going to happen, but if the line goes dead, call animal control. All right. The article is titled, AI Technology Will Soon Replace Error-Prone Humans All Over the World, but here's why it could set us all free.
Freedom.
They're here to set us free. Whoa, that spooked me. Okay, there's a cat on my lap now.
You're definitely not free from those cats.
The article reads, it has been oft quoted, albeit humoredly, that the ideal of medicine is the elimination of the physician. The emergence and encroachment of artificial intelligence on the field of medicine, however, puts an inconvenient truth on the aforementioned witticism. Over the span of their professional lives, a pathologist may review 100,000 specimens. A radiologist, more so. AI can perform this undertaking in days rather than decades. Visualize your last trip to an NHS hospital. So this is a UK outlet. So NHS is their national health system. The experience was either one of romanticism or repudiation. The hustle and bustle in the corridors, or the agonizing waiting time in A&E, the empathetic human touch, or the dissatisfaction of a rushed consultation, a seamless referral, or delays and cancellations. Contrary to this, our experience of hospitals in the future will be slick and uniform. The human touch all but erased and cleansed. Cleansed, guns. Cleansed of the human filth in favor of complete and utter digitalization. Envisage an almost automated hospital, cleaning droids, self-portered beds, medical robotics. Quote, fiction of today is the fact of tomorrow doesn't quite apply in this situation since all of the above mentioned AI currently exists in some form or the other. But then, what comes of the antiquated human doctor in our future world? Well, they can take consolation. Their unemployment status would be part of a global trend. The creation displacing the creator. Ooh. Yeah. Mechanization of the workforce leading to mass unemployment. This analogy of our friend the doctor speaks volumes. Medicine is cherished for championing human empathy. If doctors aren't safe, nobody is. The solution? Socialism. Open
socialism. Really?
I know, they really take us places. Strap in, because this is only the beginning. Open revolt against machinery seems a novel concept set in some futuristic dystopian land. Yeah, right. Though the reality can be found in history. The Luddites of Nottinghamshire, a radical faction of skilled textile workers protecting their employment through machine destruction and riots during the Industrial Revolution of the 18th century. The now satirized term Luddite may be more appropriately directed to your father's fumbled attempt at unlocking his iPhone as opposed to a militia. Okay, so anti-robot people are Luddites who are militias. What lessons are to be learned? Isn't this crazy how all these connections that they're making? And it's, a bunch of rhetorical jujitsu to say anybody, who's against the robot takeover is a terrorist, basically. What lessons are to be learnt from the Luddites? Firstly, the much fictionalized fight for dominance between man and machine is just that, fictionalized. The real fight is within mankind. The Luddites' fight was always against the manufacturer, not the machine. Machine destruction simply acted as the receptacle of dissidents. Secondly, government feelings towards the Luddites is exemplified through 12,000 British soldiers being deployed against the Luddites, far exceeding the personnel deployed against Napoleon's forces in the Iberian Peninsula in the same year. So in this historical example, Luddites, the evil anti-technology militia, actually garnered more military response than Napoleon in the exact same year from the British Empire. Though providing clues, the future struggle against AI and its wielders will be tangibly different from that of the Luddite struggle of the 18th century. Next, it's personal. It's about soul. Our higher cognitive faculties will be replaced. The diagnostic expertise of the doctor, decision-making ability of the manager, and if we're lucky, sorry, I botched that. And if we're lucky, political matters too. So you got AI politicians getting thrown in here.
Higher cognitive faculties will be replaced.
Stop thinking, human beings. Let the robots think for you.
He just makes it sound so amazing.
It's wild. The monopolizing of AI will lead to mass unemployment and mass welfare reverberating globally. AI efficiency and efficacy will soon replace the error-prone human. It must be the case that AI is to be socialized and the means of production, the AI, redistributed. In other words, brought under public ownership. Perhaps the emergence of cooperative groups made up of experienced individuals will arise to undertake managerial functions in their previous, now automated workplace. Except for the managers, those higher cognitive functions are useless when AI is involved. Anyways, whatever the structure, such an undertaking will require the full intervention of the state on a moral basis. On a moral basis not realized in the Luddite struggle. Envisaging an economic system of nationalized labor, of AI machinery performing laborious as well as lively tasks, shan't be feared. This economic model, one of abundance And now they put abundance in quotes here.
Yeah, like it's not real.
Yeah,
It's a perceived abundance.
This economic model, one of abundance, provides a platform of the fullest creative expression and artistic flair for mankind. Humans can pursue leisurely passions. Imagine the doctor dedicating superfluous amounts of time on the golfing course, the manager pursuing artistic talents, and what of the politician? Well, that's anyone's guess. Unfortunately, it's not really a guess, since Ghislaine Maxwell will probably will disappear before she gets to tell us how the politicians spend their time, but that's another story. An abundance economy is one of sustenance rather than subsistence, initiating an old form of socialism fit for a futuristic age. AI will transform the labor market by destroying it, along with the feudalistic structure inherent to it. Thought-provoking questions do arise. What is to become of human aspiration? What exactly will it mean to be human in this world of AI? Ironically, perhaps it will be the machine revolution that gives us the resolution to the age-old problems in society. So there you go, Gons. The robots taking over will create a human utopia, and anybody who doesn't want their job taken by a robot is a Luddite militia person, and we must kneel to the robotic socialism of the future.
This is precisely technocratic philosophy.
I know.
It's really abundant out there now with the young crowd.
Yeah. So hopefully, I read that and I said, this is what we talk about when we do the flippy updates. Now, when we do the flippy updates, it's fun. We do it in a fun sort of prodding way. But this article really summed up the entire reason why we do the flippy updates, which some people don't understand. We've got some simple thinkers out there, and that's okay. But you got to look beneath the silly flippy update to really see what we're talking about. And it's serious. It's the technocratic, utopia of the future where error-prone humans, they get so much free time because there's no jobs to do that they will apparently just go golfing or do some art.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
Sorry, this connects to, this is basically the exact reflection of the Star Trek universe, which we bring up once in a while. Star Trek being a product of Gene Roddenberry, famously involved in occult practices of his time.
Right. And there's a lot of books out. One of the popular books on this topic recently is Homo Deus by Yuval Noah Harari. And he came out and he basically, I have his part of his thing quoted. Actually, that clip, bigger, better, tastier. I think I have it somewhere here, but that clip is from that audiobook where he talks about how, what these doctors, these scientists, these politicians, what are they going to do with their time? And actually what the book argues is that they're going to spend their time seeking immortality. Mm-hmm. And so there's something that this guy maybe just hasn't come to that crossroads yet of realizing what he's actually pushing for. But it's the same concept as Zeitgeist Moving Forward with Peter Joseph. It's that third installment. We've talked about it before, where he basically has this idea of the machines taking over the basic needs of life. And so, humans can thrive with art and music and stuff because we're no longer held down by our need to produce the things that give us the sustenance of life, but rather we can thrive. And in that context, we will seek immortality and achieve it. It's a very alchemical philosophy. It's really, there's nothing new under the sun, and that's really been the point of transhumanism and all that stuff. But in the context of AI and technology assisting us in the medical field, that is really a huge part of the entire scientific dictatorship and where this is all headed, because what they want to do is eradicate humans from, what does he call it? Error-prone humans. But, a part of being human, and what's actually interesting is all these technocratic folks, these guys that think like this, they're actually proving a biblical worldview that humans are in sin, they're falling short of something, and it's just fascinating because they're blind to that aspect of, hey, theologians have been saying that about humanity for a long time. What is this sudden realization that humans are flawed in the realm of science and technology, thanks to the AI? It's just a very interesting, again, nothing new under the sun.
And it's very interesting because part of this utopia is the release of human beings from the necessity for work, which on one hand, there's an obvious conversation to be had about, the nature of work and the health and the despair that work can bring. But there's been plenty of poets and philosophers and theologians over the years, as well as recent scientific studies within the past couple decades, stating that when a human being doesn't have meaningful work to do, they are sort of rudderless. And and a lot of things can come out of that. Addiction and self-medicating in a lot of different ways, and the continuous search for meaning, which, if there is no, skills that you can gain, and there's no accomplishments, no direction in which to point human aspiration, that inevitably leads to a decrease in overall, life experience, quality of life, mental health, and, you could add spiritual health in that as well. And not only philosophers and poets and scientific studies, but also movies like WALL-E. I mean, WALL-E's a perfect example of looking at a future where humans don't have to work and robots do everything, and we're just sort of left to experience nothing but perceived pleasures of this world. And that didn't work out well either. So if you don't want to read the poets, philosophers, theologians, or scientists, just watch WALL-E. It'll tell you the whole program.
It's funny how the simplest of kids' movies and the deepest of books on, all this kind of stuff all pretty much say the same thing. Yeah. And reflect on the human condition.
So there you go.
Part of the work thing too, also, interestingly enough, is connected with that sin nature, because I think part of the fall with man toiling on the ground and things like that, that's all part of, again, just our condition here. And to want, again, they're proving this biblical perspective of being fallen because they want to be free from that stuff, free from the curse, so to speak. And, it's just fascinating how religious and spiritual and even biblical, I would say, a lot of their views are, but they're just missing the main point of all that,
Yeah.
They're like,
so there you go.
Jesus, no, but robots, yes. It's just really weird how that works. But
right. And of course, within the Flippy update over the years, we've shown how religion is also being passed off to the robots to lead as well. So for those who are relatively new to the show, I hope that article gave you a nice rundown of the reason why we do silly Flippy updates. We'll continue to do them. And if you came in a little late and you missed the article, I highly recommend you catch the episode after the live stream. You can find a good quality version by searching Canary Cry News Talk on any of your podcast catchers. That's Apple Podcasts or Stitcher or Spotify, wherever you do or do not listen to podcasts. You should tune into that article. Very important, not just for understanding where the world is heading, but also understanding this show and Flippy updates and what we've been talking about, for almost 10 years now. So. Yes. All right. What do you got? What's next?
We got some brief updates here.
We interrupt this broadcast to give you a brief update. By the end of this timely interruption, you will be thoroughly updated.
Speaking of the beast system, beast system.
This is from yahoo.com, and the headline is Kanye West says coronavirus vaccines are the mark of the beast.
Oh, wow.
Kanye thinks...
did he say this after his presidential bid?
I think so.
Wow.
Kanye West thinks a coronavirus vaccine will be, quote, the mark of the beast, and he accuses those developing a cure of preventing people from, quote, crossing the gates of heaven. That's the article.
Wow.
Literally is all it says in this article.
Is there a video
maybe
or
there's
something?
more. Well, there is a video, yeah,
Okay.
but I
Yeah,
think
we
it
don't
basically outlines the same thing. Yeah. What do you think, Basil? You think, President
the whole
Kanye
Kanye thing has been very interesting because some people have pointed out he's sort of a Trump type. I mean, he obviously throughout the years has connected with Trump. He visited the White House and wore the MAGA hat and expressed maybe not the same views, but views in line with maybe those who are looking to Trump. But it's kind of weird, man, because of course Kanye being a suspected Illuminati shill, to so perfectly befitting what a candidate, what a fringe sort of candidate would be looking for, whose former only choice was Trump, but now you get a black, I won't even call him a Trump type, but a black conservative type who also knows his way around some fringy end times rhetoric. He's either the answer to some people's prayers or a very brilliantly constructed, shill or distraction.
Well, it's interesting because in this time they are, even publicly, they're really trying to divide the divide and conquer narrative. They're trying to divide people from the scientific authoritarian dictatorship type of folks with the crazy conspiracy theorists. There's no middle ground anymore. We read an article last week, I think it was Bloomberg or somebody, that said, that's what's going to happen with this vaccine issue, is that we're going to have these people that are compliant with the scientific elite and those who are going to be wild conspiracy theorists. And I think this is just that he's just trying to divide the people more and more, because I think any reasonable Christian, even like your fringe Christians, like I saw this narrative a lot with people, but I don't know. I'm not sure how many people really buy this narrative that it is the mark of the beast.
Right.
I know there's a lot of compelling things to suggest it's kind of like the mark of the beast. If for example,
or it's a suspect, it's on the list of suspects.
List of potentials. Yeah. But yeah. But if my bank starts saying you must get the coronavirus vaccine to access your account, surely that can start sounding like the Revelation 13 prophecies. But it just seems weird to me that these public figures are really taking a hold of a very extreme view of the mark of the beast and just running with it. It just seems like they're really trying to round people up in this crazy conspiracy theorist group and grow that group as much as possible to create this divide and conquer thing. Yeah. And folks like you and I think we're just more in the middle, like, okay, yeah, I mean, it's a little crazy. Like, we're not saying that.
Yeah.
Like, surely we've been looking at the mark of the beast for a long time, and there's a lot of geopolitical things and particular characters surrounding it that, bring it about. But I always point out one of the things, if you read Revelation 13, it says no one can buy or sell without the mark. Mm-hmm. And that suggests that literally that you're going to have this complete surveillance state where literally nobody can buy or sell without it, because let's say the vaccine, they do some kind of mark of the beast-ish type of thing with the vaccine. You can't buy or sell without the vaccine. Well, what's stopping you and I, Basil, from like trading some catnip for, something else, a little gold or something? You know what I mean? There's nothing really stopping us from doing that.
Wink.
Yeah, wink.
Well, yeah, no, I totally hear you. And yeah, on the topic of the mark of the beast, obviously we, keep our eye on all the usual suspects, and there's definitely a possibility. I think it gained a little bit too much traction to, I don't know. It doesn't quite line up all the way as far as just a vaccine goes. Now, of course, things could change, and we could change our views accordingly. One thing that interests me quite a bit with this Kanye thing is when it first happened, and I said it on the show, when he first announced his candidacy, the risk seemed to lie more on the Biden side of the issue, being, you got a black guy who's going to
break up the Biden,
take votes away from Biden and ensure another Trump presidency. But the way that Kanye aligns himself, he seems to be more of a risk to a Trump reelection than anything else. I mean, he leans on the conservative side. He shares a lot of viewpoints with Trump supporters, and he, leans towards this more Christian ideology of end times type of data points.
Right.
And that does not seem like competition for Biden. That seems like more competition for Trump. I mean, especially as Trump is sort of taking some 180s. Actually starting to come out in support of vaccines. Of course, he started wearing a mask, which is not the biggest deal to me, but a lot of people, that's a big deal to. Turning his back on the anti-maskers there is a big issue for some people. And so, I think Kanye is more lined up to be a disruptive element to the Trump campaign than to the Biden campaign, which, just to say for anybody who's new to the show, Gons, you and I, and you can correct me if it's changed for you, but generally on this show, we reject the left-right paradigm. Of course, depending on where you drop into the show and start listening, you might think we're, crazy conservatives or crazy liberals or whatever.
Super liberals.
Yeah, just whatever. And a lot of people consider that to be, disinfo, man. Make up your mind. Make me mad. I want to be mad. Say the things that make me on your team. And that's just not what we do here. So when I talk about, who Kanye might actually be a disruption for, there's very little investment in the outcome of that. For me personally. Right. But me too. I will say this. There's a lot of people out there who are suddenly finding their sort of fringy, weird views being represented in a potentially legitimate presidential candidate. And that is very new for a lot of people, and especially a lot of our listeners.
Well, that's precisely it. It happened with the Trump presidency or campaign as well, where a lot of the due to the email thing and all that kind of stuff, the corruption within the government ranks and all that started to come out and become public.
Yeah, not to mention Trump being on the Epstein flight logs, which is pretty problematic.
Right. So I just think it's very interesting that, you're right. A lot of these fringy views are being picked up by politicians, and that to me always screams PSYOP.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but it's a little early. We don't even know if he's going to make it on any ballots. So maybe a big old nothing burger, as our mainstream folks might say.
Okay. Along with that, your buddy Elon. I always say your buddy Elon. You always have to.
Gons, do you know what the based pill is?
The based pill?
Have you ever heard of the based pill?
I'm saying like the black
chat,
pill?
I don't know. People in chat here are saying that I've taken the based pill. I don't know what that is.
I don't. Somebody explain it to us in chat.
Yeah, put it in the chat. I need to know what medications I'm on. Tell me what the based pill is.
Okay. This is along with the whole Kanye narrative here. Haveru.com.nv. Elon Musk backpedals on support of Kanye West's presidential bid. Previous 7 days, Kanye West announced that he's managing for president with the full support of his friend, Elon Musk. Soon after looking at West's most recent job interview with Forbes, on the other hand, the Tesla founder appears to be backpedaling. There really is not. I don't want to get into the whole article.
Do you have the actual tweet there? Does it show the actual tweet? Because I know what it is. If you want me to do it by memory.
Let's see. We may have more difference of opinions than I anticipated after the breaking news.
Kanye came in as more or less giving some anti-abortion and some other
anti-vaccination.
Some conservative views there on some things. And that's when Elon, who previously supported Kanye, and then Kanye came out with his anti-abortion and anti-vax views. And Elon's like, well, I may have
no, we must still kill babies.
overestimated our...
And we must still shoot you with vaccines. So, yeah.
Whoopsies. So there you go. Musk, famous quick talker Musk may have jumped the gun on that a little bit. Okay, I'm reading here in chat that based pill is another term for red pill. I think so. Okay, I guess that's nice. Thank you. I think that's a good thing.
You think that's a good thing?
Yeah, I don't know. I hesitate to associate myself with any group, but
I hesitate to take any pill, to be honest.
Yeah, based means speaking truth. Okay, good. I like that. All right. Thank you.
We're going to run out of words.
I was afraid that
by the end of this
crossed some sort of line.
Yeah. All right. We got another quick update here. It's a little bit of a longer update, but it's worth talking about here.
Epstein didn't kill himself.
And we've been tracking the New York, or the Ghislaine Maxwell thing. New York Post .com published an article today. Why Ghislaine Maxwell may be granted bail at upcoming arraignment.
Mm-hmm.
And says Ghislaine Maxwell will learn whether she'll have to stay in jail pending her trial on sex trafficking charges when she's arraigned Tuesday, with former prosecutors saying her release is not completely out of the cards.
We are a day away from finding out if she gets to go home or not.
The coronavirus outbreak in the federal prison system, very convenient, and the fact Maxwell didn't flee the country after Epstein's suicide. I thought she did. I thought she was in Israel or something. Anyway, may save her from languishing in a federal jail cell, former federal prosecutor Jamie Nowadays told the Post, quote, I think this one is a closed case. Epstein had no chance at all at bail. She is in a very different position. That sounds ridiculous, but okay. In a detention memo filed after Maxwell's arrest, prosecutors argued for remand, saying she's an extreme flight risk given her vast sums of money, 3 passports, and ties to European countries such as England and France. In normal circumstances, that may have been enough to keep her in jail, but the coronavirus outbreak has upended typical bail agreements. Nowadays added, quote, all bail arguments look a little bit different now, given COVID. That's definitely in her favor, Nowadays said. More and more, there's a push toward home confinement, especially holding people pre-trial when you still have the presumption of innocence. Kind of goes on here, but
yeah. So basically, it looks like she might have a chance of getting out on bail, $5 million bail.
Yeah,
that's not good news.
That's not good. Well, once she's out on bail, maybe that's when they announce the coronavirus. You know,
mm-hmm.
She's a risk with all the coronavirus in the federal prison that she's in.
Yes.
Horrible.
Of course. Okay. I have, let me do this Daily Mail update on Ghislaine.
Sure.
This is from dailymail.co.uk. Ghislaine Maxwell has tapes of 2 prominent U.S. politicians having sex with minors and boasted of owning powerful people. Former friend and jewel thief claims. What in the world? All right. Ghislaine Maxwell has tapes of 2 prominent U.S. politicians having sex with minors and boasted of owning powerful people, according to a former friend. The ex-jewel robber who used the pseudonym William Steele. Hi, I'm William Steele. Said they, quote, forced him to watch the footage as they wanted to convince him of their power. He also claimed to have seen clips of celebrities and world figures having threesomes, even orgies with minors. It follows Maxwell, 58, being arrested last Thursday on charges she helped lure at least 3 girls, one as young as 14, to be sexually abused by Epstein, who was accused of victimizing dozens of girls and women over many years. Steele told The Sun, they wanted to convince me of their power and who they held in their grip. They boasted about owning powerful people. He added, quote, I saw videos of very powerful people, celebrities, world figures, in those videos having sex, threesomes, even orgies with minors. The former friend also referred to 2 high-profile American politicians who were in videos with minors. Maxwell, the daughter of late British publishing magnate Robert Maxwell, is the former girlfriend and longtime close associate of Epstein. She is accused of, we all know what she's accused of, so there you go. They finish out and talk a little bit about her getting arrested in New Hampshire, et cetera, all the shadiness behind that. But yeah, William Steele, the jewel thief, the proclaimed jewel thief, is coming out. You know, that's a dangerous thing for William Steele to be doing, really claiming the types of power that Maxwell might have to wield, especially when she's going into a situation where, you know, some very high-powered people might be able to help her out of this sticky situation. So just another, another check on the box, the checkbox on the list of reasons why Ghislaine will not make it to court.
Yeah, have we seen any like actual footage of Ghislaine? A picture or video of her actually in the prison or the federal prison here? Or being
no,
arrested?
I haven't seen anything. No,
so
just
that's
the
part
stories.
of the issue here too. The stories, and then the last story with the lawyer coming out saying she's innocent, and then people like what's his name, something Steele,
William Steele,
William Steele, jewel thief, coming out. And the thing that really, the first thought I had was only two? Only two prominent U.S. politicians? Why so few?
Well, yeah. These are the ones that he saw. These are the videos that he saw with his own eyes.
Okay.
So maybe he only saw two very important political figures in these videos, as well as celebrities and world leaders, though. So there you go.
It's just none of this sits right. Like none of it at all sits right with me. Like it just all of it.
What do you
seems
mean,
very
Gons? William
contrived
Steele, the jewel thief, coming out?
This article has been shared almost a million times.
What's fishy about that?
I don't know. Do you believe William? Do you believe Bill Steele?
I have no reason to not believe William Steele. I mean, you know me, Gons. I believe any jewel thief. So I've got a soft spot. What kind of jewel thief
was he?
I've got a soft spot for renowned jewel thieves.
What kind of what was he doing? Like was he robbing like the royal jewelers, or what was he doing? Was he going into Africa?
I don't know. Actually, that would be interesting. I do want to look more into this William Steele guy.
Yeah,
I wonder
who is this guy, and why is he?
There's got to be other material.
Why is he getting headlines?
I'm putting that on the list of things to keep track of. Maybe on the next show we'll have a William Steele segment. Who is this guy? But it doesn't look good for Ghislaine Maxwell to have renowned jewel thieves coming out and giving hints as to what evidence might exist.
Maybe this is his out. This is his way of cooperating to try to lower his own.
Yeah, maybe he's trying to get a sentence reduction or something.
Yeah. There you go. Another story related to all this Ghislaine madness here. This is FoxNews.com. Ghislaine Maxwell wrapped her phone in tinfoil in bid to evade law enforcement, feds say.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Ghislaine Maxwell, British socialite, Wow. Tried to evade FBI agents before she was taken into custody and wrapped her cell phone in tinfoil to avoid detection, federal prosecutors said Monday. The details were cited in court documents during arguments against Maxwell's request for a $5 million bond while she awaits her trial. The bond would be secured by 6 co-signers and a property in the UK worth $3.75 million. And prosecutors argued against Maxwell's release, saying she poses a flight risk and is, quote, skilled at living in hiding with her tinfoil wrapped cell phone.
Wow. She couldn't spend the $15 to buy a Faraday cage on Amazon?
Or just like a burner phone? Did you not do a burner phone? It's so important to have I would imagine if she's at that level, don't you think she's got like a notebook, like a handwritten type of thing going on instead of like her cell phone?
Yeah, that's crazy. If she was keeping a smartphone around trying to be on the run, that's again, $15. Get yourself a Faraday bag on Amazon there, Ghislaine. That'll help next time. Although I don't know. I mean, I'm sure the tinfoil works to some degree. But yeah, pretty. It's like she saw a Facebook post or something.
Yeah, she like read something.
Like, oh, I should give that a try. The FBI will never find me.
Yeah, it's just,
I'm having a weird experience. Weird. My VR world is crashing down around me. On this side,
typical.
The VR office on my left side is normal, and then right down the middle here to the right, it's just a black void of nothingness.
Ooh, don't go in the black
void.
void.
That way. I'm staying this way.
Stay over there.
In my nice little VR office.
Stay in your lane.
Well, let's move on to another topic here. This one's pretty interesting. Now, everybody wants to know about the Waif-Fare conspiracy. So let's go into this. This is Newsweek.com.
Oh wait. I think I have a. I didn't have an exact jingle for this, although I thought I had. This works.
And melt those babies into candles.
Oh no!
Or
so
cabinets.
A lot of news woke up, I think, yesterday to just all sorts of talk about Waif-Fare. But we'll do a quick breakdown here. For those who don't know, here's a Newsweek article. Kids shipped in armoires. The person who started the Waif-Fare conspiracy speaks. A new conspiracy theory surrounding products advertised by the home goods and furniture seller Waif-Fare now joins previous unsubstantiated allegations like Pizzagate regarding worldwide pedophilic sex trafficking among the economic elite. The Waif-Fare conspiracy theory that became a social media sensation on Friday began with a post to the conspiracy subreddit, which promotes user-submitted conspiracy theories, many thinly evidenced or unevidenced, to more than 1 million subscribers. We get it, Newsweek. You don't believe in conspiracy theories, whatever you say. Quote, "It is possible Waif-Fare involved in human trafficking with their WFX utility collection, or are these just extremely overpriced cabinets? Note the names of the cabinets. This makes me sick to my stomach if it's true." Redditor Princess Peach 1987 posted on Thursday, along with a screenshot from Waif-Fare's mobile website featuring your 4 storage cabinets, products named Naraya, Yuritsa, Samia, and Olivia that cost between $12,699.99 and $14,499.99.
Before you go on here, this article frames it as Princess Peach 1987 as the founder of the conspiracy, or like the one who started the conspiracy.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw people posting about this months before. So come on, Newsweek, do your research.
You've seen this months ago?
Yeah, I saw some people talking about it a few months ago.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been hanging around, but just recently getting all the public attention here. The article continues. Newsweek reached out to Waif-Fare regarding the human trafficking conspiracy theories, including a request for an explanation of the high-priced items. The company provided this statement in response. Quote, "There is, of course, no truth to these claims. The products in question are industrial-grade cabinets that are accurately priced. Recognizing that the photos and descriptions provided by the supplier did not adequately explain the high price point, we have temporarily removed the products from site to rename them and to provide a more in-depth description and photos that accurately depict the product to clarify the price point." The conspiracy. No, it's not true. We're just taking down the evidence and doctoring
just taking down all the evidence.
The conspiracy theory has been elaborated on other social media platforms, particularly Twitter, expanding on the original post and its assertion that very expensive or overpriced cabinets with human names is in itself evidence of human trafficking conducted more or less in the open, with the Waif-Fare offering humans for sale under the guise of selling cabinetry. In chat conversations with Newsweek, Princess Peach 1987 described seeking out garage storage with their husband when they came across the expensive cabinet listings. While they at first surmised that they may have stumbled across unlisted dropshipping sales, Facebook posts also suspicious of pricey listings made them more inclined to listen to their suspicions that there may be something more to do with the listings. Princess Beach 1987, who declined to reveal their non-Redditor identity, described themselves as, quote, involved in a local organization that helps victims of human trafficking. So that's an interesting point here. This is a person who, kind of works in the human trafficking
not just some
space.
crazy person out there. It's an
Right.
actual person working in,
Yeah. So, this isn't just a Reddit poster, which when you say, oh, this crazy Reddit poster on the conspiracy tab or whatever said this crazy thing. No, this is a person who is involved in, ongoing help to victims of human trafficking. So they would kind of know what's going on, which has led her to be suspicious most of the time now. They characterize their Reddit post as less of a direct accusation and more of an effort to see if anyone else had more details. Prominent arrests like that of Jeffrey Epstein for the alleged trafficking and sexual assault of underage girls have shown that extensive pedophilia networks do exist, but the details of the Waif-Fare theory do not make a credible case. Yet, I will add. Subsequent elaborations on the theory include a user review on the Waif-Fare website for previously unrelated $5,000 fireproof filing cabinet, which included a 2016 user review from someone in Walnut Creek, California. The San Francisco exurb, with a population of more than 70,000, was also the location of a February arrest for human trafficking, child pornography, and attempted kidnapping, which was allegedly connected to a wider child sex trafficking ring. Walnut sauce is also an alleged code word for Pizzagate conspiracy theories. Supporters of the theory have also urged skeptics to use a Russian search engine to search for the stock keeping unit number, that's the SKU, associated with various Waif-Fare products, which returns image results full of children in bathing suits. Whoa, weird. However, none of the SKU searches returned images of a single child, which would seem to run counter to the implications that Waif-Fare SKUs secretly provide data regarding the specific child to be purchased. In addition, following the search engine instructions with any random string of numbers returns the exact same results. Supporters of the theory have also drawn connections to June 2019 protests by Waif-Fare employees, which objected to the company selling furnishings to a Texas detention facility for migrant children. The facility subsequently closed, however, protesting Waif-Fare employees never mentioned setting up public listings for humans. Still, the Waif-Fare conspiracy theory has begun to take on a life of its own on social media and will likely become part of the extensive mythology regarding child sex trafficking brought to national prominence with Pizzagate. And then they kind of give a review of Pizzagate after that. And again, kind of the mainstream debunking of Pizzagate, which mainly is, child sex trafficking in a pizza parlor, that's crazy. Debunked. Okay.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it was straw men where they're like Hillary Clinton personally held children in the basement.
Yeah. The mainstream reflection of Pizzagate specifically said, Pizzagate says that Hillary Clinton runs a pizza parlor with a dungeon in the basement. Right. And that's a total mischaracterization of the legit Pizzagate theories. So anyways, I looked into some more of this a little bit, and it goes much further than these cabinets. And we're seeing sort of a Pizzagate-esque, straw man type debunking going on as we speak. But there's a lot of people who pulled a lot more screenshots of tons of other products. Like there's a $10,000 pillow with a name, like just has a single human name to it, and
the prices change when they put in their personalization of the names and stuff that you can sew into some of these products.
Yeah.
And like a $30 thing, all of a sudden you start you want to put your personal name in there and it goes up to $10K or whatever. Mm-hmm. Very bizarre.
Yeah. They do say here at the bottom, while the so-called Podesta emails contained multiple newsworthy revelations, including the content of speeches Clinton delivered to Goldman Sachs and the leak of questions to the Hillary campaign in advance of a CNN town hall with 2016 Democratic primary opponent Bernie Sanders, Pizzagate was built on the unsubstantiated claim that certain words within the emails were in fact coded allusions to child sex trafficking in the arbitrary associations developed by conspiracy theorists. Various food words, including cheese, map, walnut sauce, and of course pizza, were actually coded indications of people's preferred child victims, which is not debunked. I mean, that's,
not only is
there
it
are
not
FBI
debunked,
files.
that's what I'm saying.
That state
These were
that.
based on FBI documents, not conspiracy theorists.
And
so
I know this is just one of those things, man, where the mainstream, and this is Newsweek. I mean, this is barely
Newsweek.
like.
Yeah.
Look, we
This is
joking,
mainstream.
We kind of, this is, mainstream light. They actually kind of do dip into some of the weird stuff once in a while. And even they're so wrapped up in, I mean, it's just lying to say that just specifically, let's just bring it down to specifically these code words, saying that these code words are crazy. These code words are from FBI documents that anybody can look up that states it has a list of icons, logos associated with child trafficking, a list of code words that the FBI associates with child trafficking. And that's where people get this idea. It's not just completely made up out of whole cloth. Unfortunately, now I will say this just to give a little bit of hope. There has been a ton of child sex trafficking cases bringing people to justice all over the world. I mean, over the weekend, there were 16 more guys got rounded up all over the place. Well,
Florida or
more
something?
than that. There's something like 30 or something around the world that got rounded up over the weekend, 16 of them in the U.S., and one or more of them associated with Disney World, which will ring some bells for people.
Right. Yeah. Along with this, it's very interesting how we had Pizzagate before the 2016 elections, and now we have Waif-Fare before the 2020 elections. There seems to be a lot of patterns emerging with all this stuff.
Yeah.
There was one tweet here, the Damascus push on Twitter, allegedly, he said this on Twitter. I don't know if this is true or not, but you're hearing a lot of this type of stuff on social media. Okay, guys, so I worked for this company. They are very, very meticulous about their pricing at what goes into each product set. There are no mistakes here. The only mistake made is they were caught red-handed, literally. Bastards. I always thought Niraj was a creep. And there were other people saying that there's some tiers within the company, and like there was a top elite tier that no one can really access. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of people coming out and saying like there's some weirdness going on behind the scenes in general. So again, it's one of those issues where not surprising that this may have been going on. Not surprising that that it gets public and it gets peddled as this crazy conspiracy theory. The truth is probably there is something to it. It may not be all the claims you read on social media,
right?
But there's probably something to it. And I think if we're going to follow the pattern of the Pizzagate thing, you're going to have somebody walk into the Waif-Fare facilities and try to shoot it up or something like that, because
that happened with the
someone's going to.
thing.
It did. What was his name? Edgar Madison Welch.
Cosmic Ping Pong.
Comet Ping Pong.
Edgar
Edgar Madison Welch, which, by the way, one of the weird things about that whole story was, apart from him allegedly shooting firing one bullet and it hitting some kind of hard drive, luckily, right?
Yeah, right.
He was listed as an actor on IMDb.
Right.
His father is involved in some kind of child trafficking, like exposing child traffickers or something like that. And even more closer to home, which is very bizarre, is that he was somebody who followed me on Facebook.
Ooh.
And the morning it happened, somebody messaged me and said, "Hey, this guy's on your friend list."
Ooh,
and I was like, "Oh, what the heck?" And I remember deleting him off my list. And I thought, "Oh shoot, I should have looked into him a little bit before I did that."
His page or something.
Not only that, his alleged fiance emailed me at one point and said, "Hey, he's not a bad guy. I want people to know he followed your work." It was really weird. I didn't respond to it at the time because I didn't want to get wrapped up into this whole thing. But, yeah, it's weird that, conspiracy theory people get sort of pulled into it, and then folks like myself getting contacted by family. It's just I was very skeptical of the whole thing.
Suspicious. Yeah.
It would have been very easy for me to do that and get, thousands of followers and get a huge buzz going or whatever. I just, the whole adage of don't become the story.
You just, if you're not involved, you shouldn't be involved.
Yeah, if
you are involved, you shouldn't be involved. And that's especially with what we know about how the FBI operates. That's not really a good thing to start getting involved with.
And if you're curious about the title of this episode, the reason why it's spelled weird is because, according to some folks doing some research here, Waif,
Waif, WAIF, Waif.
Yes. The definition: a homeless, neglected, or abandoned person, especially a child.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And fare, if you spell FARE, of course, everyone really, they know the definition of fare, which is the price charged to transport a person.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go.
Waif-Fare. I mean, this is one of those ones. This is not evidence of anything.
No, it's not evidence.
It's just a weird coincidence that somebody picked out. Waif being a stray person or animal, especially a homeless child, and fare being the price charged to transport a person. Just a weird thing. Weird thing. So
I'm sure it's just a coincidence.
This is a very new thing, and we certainly don't have any special information that anybody else doesn't have, but just to bring it to your attention and give our thoughts on it. Very suspicious. We will certainly, I'm almost positive that there will be no public investigation, but just to give a little bit of hope, I do got to hand it to at least the messaging coming out of it seems like the FBI and law enforcement agencies around the world are trying to do something about this, and I think there certainly will be an investigation. Whether or not any of that is made public, probably not. But we can only pray that
probably not right away. Maybe in a couple of years.
Yeah,
it'll come out. But there was what I found interesting was Alex Jones coming out and saying this is all a distraction. Distraction from other stories.
Sure, Alex.
And good old Alex Jones. And, one of the things, he does have a kind of a point when you mentioned how there were other big time busts recently.
Mm-hmm.
And the one that I wanted to point out was the sunstar.com.ph collaboration leads to German child sex offenders' arrest and conviction. Cooperation between Philippine and German law enforcement agencies resulted in the arrest and conviction of a German child sex offender and the rescue of his 3-year-old son from online sexual exploitation of children. And it says here, where's that number? I'm trying to find, because I think they were saying there's like 30,000 kids involved or something at some point.
Yeah.
Can't find the exact quote here on that, but anyway, just it is true that, again, like you mentioned, there were other rings taken down recently. And so, something to keep an eye on, that there does seem to be a lot more of these busts. And if that has to do with Trump, great, root for him in that regard. But if not, then, who knows?
Yeah, whoever's taking these guys down, good job. Keep going.
Yeah.
For the remnant in the chat had said, can you buy millstones from Waif-Fare? Very good. Very good little Bible joke there.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's I forgot the guy's name. Craig something also made a documentary recently where he literally busts a bunch of what appear to be good citizens, engaging in underage sex, basically.
Sure.
And catching them right in the act and stuff. I can't remember the name of the film. I feel bad. I don't remember the film. But we talked about it a few episodes ago. Scroll back, you'll find it. But
it's very suspicious today, Gons. Usually we hang out in the top 10 rankings for talk shows and podcasts over on Twitch. And we are very far down the list today. Let's see, 12, 16, we're 17th. I guess we're still, that's better than nothing, but usually we're hanging out in the top 5 or 10. So I don't know. They don't like us talking about Waif-Fare, apparently.
Guess not.
Yeah.
Well, we can move on to the other thing that's taken over the world.
Yes, let's do it.
This is CBSNews.com. Feds charge phony church with selling toxic bleach as COVID-19 cure. Man, I feel like this is all a lot of psyop going on.
Yep.
A Florida father and son have continued to sell a potentially deadly bleach product billed as a miracle cure for COVID-19 through a fake church, despite a federal judge ordering them to stop. Federal officials said in filing criminal charges against them. Mark Grenon and his 3 sons, Jonathan, Jordan, and Joseph, are charged with conspiracy to defraud the U.S. and distribute mislabeled drugs, according to the suit filed in the Southern District of Florida on Wednesday. According to the criminal complaint, the 4 allegedly pitched, quote, miracle mineral solution, or MMS, a toxic bleach as a cure for COVID-19.
Oh, boy.
They sold this dangerous product under the guise of Genesis 2 Church of Health and Healing. Genesis, an entity that allegedly created in an attempt to avoid government regulation of MMS, according to the statement detailing the allegations. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration, quote, has received reports of people requiring hospitalizations, developing life-threatening conditions, and dying after drinking MMS, labeled death from COVID-19. I just added that last part. Noted the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Florida, which did not elaborate further. The government had already filed civil charges against Grenon and his adult children and obtained a court order barring them from continuing to market MMS. The family responded by threatening violence against the judge in the case, federal officials said. Quote, not only is this MMS product toxic, but its distribution and use may prevent those who are sick from receiving the legitimate health care they need. A U.S. District Court already has ordered the defendants to stop distributing this product. We will not sit idly by as individuals purposely violate court orders and put the public in danger, Ariana Fajardo-Orshon, U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida, said in a statement. Grenon in Bradentown, Florida, and his offspring, interesting way to put it, his offspring could not be reached for comment. The family earned $500,000 in 2019 selling their potions to thousands of vulnerable Americans, according to Justice Department. Profits surged in March 2020 when the family began falsely touting MMS as a cure for novel coronavirus and taking in about $123,000 during the month, the Fed said. And it kind of goes on here with there's only a couple more paragraphs here. That's even though the FDA has for years warned consumers not to buy or drink chlorine dioxide products based, let me try that again. That's even though the FDA has for years warned consumers not to buy or drink chlorine dioxide products such as MMS sold as medical treatments. The legal action comes as part of the government effort to stymie scams related to the pandemic, with consumers pitched phony cure-alls for or immunity when there is no known vaccine or cure for. Whoa, hello,
baby. Okay, we got a baby in the house, folks. So that is the end of the article there. When there is no known vaccine or cure for COVID-19, the disease caused by the coronavirus. And the crazy thing about this is, the thing that drove me nuts about this, them starting a fake church to sell this stuff thinking it would protect them is just silly. These guys just aren't the smartest tools in the shed, I think. And if you're going to sell a fake cure, why would you sell a fake cure that kills people? Bleach, obviously a toxic substance. If you're trying to sell something that's not going to have any effect, just sell mineral water or something. Come on, folks. Don't do something that they can actually get you on murder charges for. So, where was this? This was Florida. Of course, a Florida father. Come on, Florida people. if you're gonna sell fake cures, don't make it actual poison. Just put a little bit of Kool-Aid in there or something. That'll get you the profits that you're looking for without the, extreme criminal charges. So, how's baby doing?
She's good. I don't know what she's doing in here. She's not supposed to be in here.
Ooh,
Babysitter's failing right now.
She's sneaky. Her ninja skills are getting quite good. She can elude grandma and grandpa and break into the sanctum.
I heard the door open and close. I thought it was just maybe a fluke, but maybe not. Guess not.
Yeah. So anyways, I was just telling the fine listeners here that, if you're more or less, if you're going to sell a fake cure to something, don't make it actual poison.
Yeah. Good point.
Put a little bit of salt in the water or something. Sell that. But yeah, no, it's unfortunate that, a lot of this stuff has been connected to, quote unquote, the church. Who was it? Jim Baker got in trouble kind of a couple months ago for doing a similar thing. Certainly not bleach, but touting an unsubstantiated COVID cure. I think it was like a silver, what is it called? Colloidal silver, which has been sold for quite a while it's been kind of that paramedical, parapharmaceutical type of substance that people claim has all sorts of health benefits. And I don't know anything about it. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But yeah, if you're going to do something like this, don't make it straight up bleach.
Haven't you heard, dude? Hey, come on, man.
Look it up.
Do some research. Didn't you hear bleach clears everything? I grew up in bleach.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. I got something here for you, COVID related.
COVID.
This is an interesting conversation that I feel like a lot of people are having. This is on a website called madinamerica.com, and the sort of subtitle of it is Science, Psychiatry, and Social Justice. But let's see what they're saying here. The article is titled, "Is COVID-19 Making Everybody Crazy?" I think so. The coronavirus pandemic has provided a golden opportunity for some psychotherapists, big pharma-funded entities, and others who have sounded an alarm, claiming that massive numbers of people are mentally ill because of fears of the virus and reactions to social distancing. Media producers have promoted these warnings during May, which was deemed Mental Health Awareness Month. A recent Washington Post article headlined, "A third of Americans now show signs of clinical anxiety or depression. Census Bureau finds amid coronavirus pandemic," made that claim. And in a recent New York Times article, psychologist Andrew Solomon reporting data that nearly half of respondents said the pandemic harmed their mental health. Shockingly, equated this with mental illness becoming universal reality. In a June 5th press release, the American Psychiatric Association, a lobby group for psychiatrists, reported an increase in psychiatric disorders during the pandemic that is based on an anonymous online screening tool. Screening tools that allegedly tell the test taker whether they have a mental illness, including this Mental Health America tool, and there's a link there, are usually based on a list of feelings and difficulties that most people feel sometimes. And the cutoff points they give for when you should seek professional help are not scientifically based. This tool includes instructions to take their depression test if you are feeling overwhelming sadness. Do we really want to call overwhelming sadness in response to the isolation, fear, and unknown future occasioned by the pandemic a mental illness? They say to take their anxiety test if worry and fear are affecting your daily functioning. Who these days doesn't worry whether their mask is adequate, whether they have washed their hands enough times and in hot enough water, whether to stay away from a beloved elderly relative, or fear of communicating the virus and thus increase their loneliness or go see them, wearing masks and gloves and staying 6 feet apart, but still worrying because they might find out later that 6 feet of distance was not enough. That was one big long sentence of a paragraph there. Such claims promise a vast expansion of the market for therapists, but such claims carry great potential for harm, adding to the burdens of people with upsetting but understandable, deeply human feelings by informing them they have a psychiatric disorder. Anyone having upsetting feelings deserves love, help, understanding, and support, whether from family, friends, or if they choose, from clergy or therapists. But people also deserve to know about the dangers of classifying all upset as mental illness. There are two common meanings of the term black box, and both apply here. One meaning comes from the Food and Drug Administration's black box warnings to alert potential consumers to a product's dangers, and has applied here. People should be warned not to rush to call their upset mental illness. When people are struggling, suffering, or responding in unusual ways, they frequently fear their feelings mean they are mentally ill and that they should be doing better than they are. One of the most helpful things that therapists can do is to let them know that their feelings are deeply human reactions, not signs of illness. A hard look at 4 facts makes it clear that caution is warranted before pathologizing reactions to the current pandemic. First, little is known about COVID-19 or how to protect oneself from it, and its effects can be fatal. So feeling confused, frightened, and terrified, powerless, helpless should not be classified as psychiatric disorders, but rather as normal and understandable reactions to extremely unusual events. As poet Heather McHugh observes in our daily lives, this is the next point here. As poet Heather McHugh observes, in our daily lives under ordinary circumstances, we tend to avoid, quote, our fundamental terror at our own deaths. But the pandemic's massive concentration of so many deaths at once and the fact that our own death is now more likely to be imminent, quote, makes the burden of the knowledge of mortality weigh heavily on us. McHugh cites Audre Lorde's poem, A Litany for Survival, which ends with the line, "We were never meant to survive." Suddenly to be confronted with something so terrifying for many people that they usually drive it out of awareness is a shock. And this is disorienting in its own way. The fleeing doesn't work as well now, so how to begin finding other ways to cope with our mortality? Next point, physical isolation from others interrupts the participation in community that is proven to be healing, and social distancing and stay-at-home policies drastically reduce participation in community. Connections via Zoom calls have skyrocketed and can be helpful but have drawbacks. Many include numerous participants, which can inhibit deep conversations and feelings and creation or / maintaining of meaningful relationships. Further, there is some strain involved in monitoring who is speaking and when to jump in, and it requires extra energy to remember to stay within camera range. Blah, blah, blah. I know how a Zoom call works. Next point, many people are grappling with increased loneliness, alarm about losing jobs and work identity, new financial crises, and child or spousal abuse. Asians and Asian Americans have been targets of discrimination and abuse because of claims that COVID-19 originated in China. Many African Americans and Latinx people have and people in nursing homes, prisons, and psychiatric hospitals know that their risk of getting the virus is higher than that of others, compounding fear, suffering, and anger about the reasons for the increased risk. Upset due to any of these causes should not be called mental illness. The same applies to frontline healthcare and other essential workers and people who have suddenly had to provide constant care for family of all ages and education for offspring or those grieving loved ones' deaths. As with military veterans traumatized by war or victims of all forms of oppression and violence, the last thing such people need is to be told their reactions are proof that they are psychiatrically disordered. The message that they should be coping better only adds to their burden. And the article is significantly longer than all that, but that does wrap up the point of this whole thing. I thought this was interesting. Now they do sort of, they just take mainstream info here, so don't expect any sort of big twists and turns for the fringy people. But I think the point of it still stands, being that this is all unnatural and traumatic and horrible. And, this is not necessarily a reason to start branding people mentally ill. There's a lot of not just practical downsides to, claiming mental illness or having that category, sort of stamped onto you, but also, it's a situation where pretty much everybody is being subjected to constant messages of fear and distrust, not only of the people around them and, in the subject of wearing masks and things, social distancing and stuff like that, but also, the distrust of governments or medical institutions, stuff like that. There's distrust everywhere. So a constant onslaught of negativity, distrust, fear mongering, the having to come face to face with your mortality and look into the void, as such. I still have in my VR over here. Don't know why. But I thought this was a sober-minded look, albeit sort of a mainstream based approach, that this is all traumatic and there can be an overreaction to claiming yourself or others as mentally ill as a result of that.
Yeah. Although I do think that there is, it does touch on the point of, having that thought that you are having psychological effects from this, because certainly I've seen people's behavior change, reaction change. A lot of what we see in social media of people freaking out in stores when they don't wear masks, either by the person, busting out their phones and recording people, or the person themselves freaking out about China virus or whatever it is, whatever the situation is, it's created a lot more tension with people. And while not every instance of that is mental illness, I do think that it's causing a stress on the psyche of everybody.
Oh, totally.
And I think that's kind of the greater point here. And, I like to look at the CDC's own numbers, and, as of today, this week, there's 137 deaths reported from the coronavirus. There was 469 last week. So the death rate is certainly going down. There isn't really it's been consistently going down since April. So, and this is the CDC's numbers. So I don't know, this whole idea of a spike and all this kind of stuff, a lot of it seems to be politically driven.
Yeah,
obviously.
well, there's certainly a lot. I mean, the conversation goes much deeper, like you said, and the numbers being presented in the mainstream certainly can and should be legitimately debunked or corrected. But, in this article, now remember, this is not necessarily a fringy person writing this, but recognizing the psyop of it all. The constant pushing, whether the numbers are correct or not, constantly telling people that they're going to die and they're going to kill their loved ones. Right. The agenda being to keep everybody afraid and in a state of constant anxiety about the worldwide situation that they can do nothing about, especially with connections with the elites of big pharma and things like that. I mean, the companies that are selling anti-anxiety or anti-depression meds got to be loving this. This is their dream come true. So it's nice to see somebody pushing back against, if not the official story, the expected, the sort of expected result for an individual. Especially when in some weird circles, I mean, I don't know, younger people especially, I mean, I don't want to point anybody out individually, but, the kind of SJW types, a certain brand of young person, where unfortunately, and I think some of them would admit this, having something like a mental illness adds to your points. What is that point system called? Your privilege points?
Sure.
So if you have a mental illness, you are worthy of more pity and just the whole snowflake idea that gets thrown around in conservative circles, And so, to see somebody who obviously takes the mainstream story and lean it in a way to have people, not be so quick to get under the spotlight of mental illness, I think is a very healthy reaction.
Sure. Yeah. And, I'm seeing some different comments in the chat here, but, one of the things that you have to realize when we point out things like the CDC numbers, we pointed out last week how even the CDC admits on their own website that, a lot of the death count is lab confirmed and not lab confirmed, or, verified by people that have a reasonable amount of, I can't remember the exact words they used, but it's all people based, it's someone's opinion on many of these numbers. And so, yes, I get that a lot of these numbers are not correct in general, but even given that, the numbers are way down, and we're still, California is still going on 3-day lockdown, shutting stuff down. It's just, I think it's weird, but I think our little fringy type of approach is maybe the most healthy, because we're not pushing crazy conspiracy theories. Although we are way more to that side of things. No,
I don't think we push many conspiracy theories at all. All we do is read the news.
Well, yeah. On this show, yeah. But I mean, in terms of just our worldview here, we are way more skeptical of the official narrative than most people out there. You call normies, if you will. And having that that critical thinking approach to all of this seems to be the most healthy in looking at all of this. And again, you don't have to push this crazy conspiracy. When I say crazy conspiracy theory, I'm talking about, the folks who say, we know for a fact that they're going to have RFID chips in these vaccines. And that's the mark of the beast. And it's going to track us, period. No questions asked. That's what it is. We're not pushing that level of that narrative. Although again, we, understand that those types of things are possible, and you got to keep in mind that certainly a forced vaccine is a lot more like a mark of the beast situation than anything we've seen, but still not totally buy into this complete public narrative, which is absolutely freaking people out. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's good that even your I guess mainstreamy type of normie people are recognizing the inconsistencies being peddled out there, and how society is responding to this, and how it's not healthy, so to speak. So
yeah, I wouldn't say necessarily this is society responding, but yes, this individual on this website,
this individual responding,
who seems to, in any other case, would sort of be a party line puller, is stepping back and asking people to take a second look at the reaction of going for mental illness. And so there we go. We agree. We're gonna have to pass over a couple less important stories. I think we're already an hour and 20 minutes in or something.
I know.
So why don't we jump down? We talked about the bees getting COVID, a COVID-like disease affecting bees, specifically, I think in the UK that story was. But it's not just the bees that got to watch out, Gons.
I know. Before we do that, let me do one. It's not really a story. It's just a quick update.
Okay.
Last week, we mentioned how the New England Medicine Journal had quotes about how they, I think I have it here on a tweet. Quote, "We know that wearing a mask outside healthcare facilities offers little, if any, protection from infection. The desire for widespread masking is a reflexive reaction to anxiety over the pandemic." And then later in the same New England Journal of Medicine, they stated, quote, "It is also clear that masks serve symbolic roles. Masks are not only tools, they are also talisman. that they may help increase healthcare workers' perceived sense of safety, well-being, and trust in their hospitals. Expanded masking protocols' greatest contribution may be to reduce the transmission of anxiety over and above whatever role they may play in reducing transmission of COVID-19. So we pointed that out, and we weren't the only ones pointing this out from the New England Journal of Medicine. But interestingly enough, on the 9th of July, the New England Journal of Medicine put out this kind of editorial piece, correspondence here, universal masking in the COVID-19 era. And they state here, we understand that some people are citing our Perspective article published April 1st at the NEJM. I think it was later too. I think it was May, the one we were citing, as support for discrediting widespread masking. In truth, the intent of our article was to push for more masking, not less. Right.
This is all a psyop, so we should all do it more.
Yes. It is apparent that many people with SARS-CoV-2 infection are asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic, yet highly contagious, and that these people account for a substantial...
Which also goes against what the HWO was saying, but okay.
Yeah. Yet highly contagious, and that these people account for a substantial fraction of all transmissions. Universal masking helps to prevent such people from spreading virus-laden secretions, whether they recognize that they are infected or not. Basically admitting that everyone has to assume that they're infected. They go on, we state in the article that, quote, wearing a mask outside healthcare facilities offers little, if any, protection from infection. But as the rest of the paragraph makes clear, we intended the statement to apply to passing encounters in public spaces, not sustained interactions with enclosed environments. Bull. That is absolute bull, because the whole article talks about how nurses in medical facilities don't get the kind of protection that they think they have. So that is absolute BS here. And then it says, a growing body of research shows that the risk of SARS-CoV-2 transmission is strongly correlated with the duration and intensity of contact. The risk of transmission among household members can be as high as 40%, whereas the risk of transmission from less intense and less sustained encounters is below 5%. This finding is also born out of recent research associating mask wearing with less transmission of SARS-CoV-2, particularly in closed settings. We therefore strongly support the call of public health agencies for all people to wear masks when circumstances compel them to be within 6 feet of others for sustained periods. And so they definitely are backpedaling on some of the stuff they said before, and if not backpedaling, directly contradicting stuff that they had published as recent as, I'm going to look at the date here of the one we quoted, May 21st. So about a month and a half, which again, categorically states that masks are a talisman. I mean, I don't know how else to really, they didn't address any of that.
Maybe, I think it might be valuable to if you want to look up a relevant definition of talisman for people. We've talked about talismans in the past. Actually for years, talismans being a very powerful sort of idea in human society. So I don't know if you want to look that up real quick.
Yeah, talisman as a definition here is defined as a noun, an object, typically an inscribing ring or stone that is thought to have magical powers and to bring good luck.
Yes, and furthermore, in a current context, that's sort of a magical thinking type of object, definition, which you can certainly apply in certain cases here as well, depending on what perspective you want to take at the moment. But basically being a signifier or a symbol rather than an effective object tool to do something. Yeah, yes, it's a signaling device. And the New England Journal of Medicine saying that more than anything, masks are a signaling to other people that we're all in this together. And so, which is another reason why now talismans, even in sort of the secular sense, being a very powerful tool for social engineering, which is why they were so excited to make such a big deal about it, because of course in their worldview, a talisman that controls people is a good thing. But of course, when they saw that being used in a negative term, they needed to backpedal and change their story, which we see over and over and over, which is why we have to do 3 shows a week, Gons, because not only you can't just go off of the information you were given even days ago. You must constantly update on what's going on.
And I see people in the chat referring to articles that we went over a couple episodes ago. So if you haven't checked it out, go back. And we've been covering a lot of information on a lot of mainstream articles, but also articles from doctors and people that have written about how nobody has died, apparently, from COVID-19, stuff like that. So,
and, it's a valuable thing, actually, to go back and listen to past episodes. If you have the time for that, you should definitely do that. A good way to do that is to hit the podcast version of the show, much higher quality, and you don't have to sit at your computer and watch a video. You can just have the podcast playing while you do your chores. So just search out Canary Cry News Talk on whatever podcatcher you want. Okay, Gons.
And you wanted to get into the animals.
I just want to real briefly go through the new list of animals that can catch COVID or similar things. We talked about the bees a couple of weeks ago, a COVID-like disease affecting bees in the U.S. But now we're over on the NewYorkPost.com here. Deadly new bunny Ebola. Killing thousands of rabbits across the U.S. Bunny Ebola is the saddest thing I've ever heard. It's like it's like puppy AIDS or something. I don't like it. All right. Little bunny flu. Little bunny flu. Very good. As if the world wasn't plague-stricken enough, a deadly new virus that's more contagious than the coronavirus is sweeping across the U.S., killing thousands of both domestic and wild rabbits in the Southwest. Quote, "We refer to it as bunny Ebola." Texas veterinarian Dr. Amanda Jones tells The Cut of the leporin affliction, whose official name is rabbit hemorrhagic disease virus. And while the disease is not related to Ebola, an ailment marked by hemorrhaging, it does cause lesions in rabbits, organs, and tissues, which result in internal bleeding and death. Even more peculiar, many of the affected creatures' noses start bleeding post-mortem. Quote, "Yikes. We still have no idea where it originated," Ralph Zimmerman, New Mexico state veterinarian, tells The Cut. However, since April, the U.S. Department of Agriculture has confirmed RHDV2 cases in Arizona, California, Colorado, Nevada, Utah, Texas, and New Mexico. Nearly 500 bunnies in New Mexico were infected between March and June alone. There you go. And there's some more facts about bunny Ebola, but it's just another plague going on at the same time. We got a bunny plague and a human plague. And then secondly here, I'm over on the San Francisco Gate, sfgate.com, article titled, "Never Before Seen Bacteria Kills 60,000 Fish in California." Bulging eyes, erratic swimming, darkening skin, and swollen abdomen. These are the symptoms of a mysterious new bacterial infection killing tens of thousands of fish in California right now, reports the Daily Press in Victorville. Bacteria identified as Lactococcus garviae, which had never been found in the state until April, has caused a mass outbreak of disease, killing up to 60,000 fish at the Mojave River hatchery in San Bernardino County. In measures that are hard not to compare to the coronavirus pandemic ravaging America, around 3 million rainbow trout and other species have been quarantined as scientists try to understand the novel pathogen that has resisted treatments to cure it. A lot of rhetorical connections being made here. Fish pathologists do not know where the bacteria came from in the first place. Quote, "Honestly, we're learning new things about this every single day." Jay Rowan, an environmental program manager for the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, told the Daily Press. Treatments attempting to rid the hatcheries of the infection have so far been largely futile. Staff at the Mojave River hatchery gave the fish an antibiotic feed that cost over $75,000, but the bacteria is still spreading, according to a statement.
This guy's doing it wrong. He's doing it wrong. Fish masks.
Oh,
Gotta get the
that's
fish
what
masks.
we need to do. Put masks.
And the bunny masks.
Got to put masks on the bunnies, on the fish.
Bunny
Tell them to
masks.
stay away from each other, just for a few days. Yeah. So there you go. We've got plagues ravaging all forms of life right now in different ways. Pretty interesting. I mean, especially when you compare it to sort of a biblical, the biblical scope of these plagues. So, and same characteristics. Don't know where it came from. Don't know how to cure it. Don't know anything about the thing, about the disease. We just got to put masks on all the bunnies and the fishies.
Fish masks.
Yeah.
Telling you.
And the bees. Don't forget the bees.
All the bees.
Come on, take a break. Gons, I heard some people in the chat asking for the Twitch link, so we'll drop that in there for you. But we want to take a quick little break here. Don't go anywhere, though. We're just going to take a quick break and thank some people. And after this, we've got a lineup of 33 updates. For those who don't know, 33 is a signaling number, a hiding in plain sight signaling from elites, which makes it difficult for us to know exactly what's being signaled, but it is it's another one of these coincidence, I think not, type of things. So you'll get your 33 updates. We've got some more trouble in paradise for the Bidens. New things happening with the Bidens that to stack. A big old stack of problems going on in the Biden family. And then we're going to be talking about some fires going on. So stick around. Don't go anywhere. We're just going to take a quick minute here and thank some of our new Twitch followers. We want to thank our Twitch followers because YouTube has recently demonetized everything. The YouTube videos get taken down. The YouTube streams get interrupted. And so one of the most reliable ways to watch the show and higher quality is to head over to twitch.tv/Canary Cry Radio. That also helps Gons and I out quite a bit, helps us support ourselves, keep the show going. And so we appreciate it very much. Even as a backup, even if you are a YouTube fanatic, you just love it so much you don't ever want to watch videos anywhere else, that's okay. We recommend you go to twitch.tv/Canary Cry Radio and follow, even as a backup. Turn on notifications because there is talk about YouTube not sending out notifications to our shows, cutting off streams, etc., etc. So I want to thank real quick some Twitch followers. Gons, you got your dinger ready?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I also have baby in my ear.
You got a baby and a dinger. Okay, so try to keep up here. We're going to thank some people. I'm just going to zoom through. So here we go. First of all, I want to thank Keen Peachy Zero. Thank you very much. We got Conspiracies Do Exist. We got The Skeptic Mystic 23. Sway Monkey. We got Forsov Habit, but it's kind of like spelled like habit, like a nun's abbot. Forsov Habit, thank you. Ashby 86. Jojo 82482. Iceberg Gaming TTV. Fresh Vibes Daily. Boba Fett 1. Spider Monkey 77. This one's good. Lucky number 33. There we go. Somebody's paying attention. King Bowserk. Allergic to BS Dude. John 195 711. We've got Tall White Male. And white male spelled white, M-A-I-L. Oh, this is a hard one to read, but I'm just going to take a running start. I'm Mr. Meeseeks. Look at me. We've got some Rick and Morty fans here. Chipmunk. Oh, wait. Chippy McMunk. Didymus, 1979. I've read these ones already. There we go. That's the end of the list. Thank you very much to all the new Twitch followers. We appreciate it. And if you're out there watching on YouTube or DLive or Facebook or anywhere else, you need to maybe pick one or two other outlets and follow us there. Turn on notifications. Just a helpful suggestion for everybody. Okay, anything else we need to do on this break, Gons? Okay, he's dealing with a baby. He's got a baby in his ear. So I think, unless I hear anything else from Gons, I think we're going to just come on out of this break and wake up, sleepyhead. Oh, he is away from the computer.
Hold on. Sorry. trying to do this. Okay, hold on. Let me play the jingle and then you can do the next story.
Sounds good.
Yes, it's wake up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
Hey, all wake up. Okay, here we go. Now, just for some 33 update for everybody. This is kind of silly, but this story is everywhere, but I am taking it from TMZ.com. You know, it's fun to just go straight to the most mainstream of outlets and see what they have to say. So, TMZ.com, the article is titled Naya Rivera Dead at 33. Sheriff says no sign of foul play or suicide. Okay. Sheriff Bill Ayub says they are confident the body discovered in Lake Piru today is Naya Rivera, and there's nothing to indicate any foul play took place or she died by suicide. This was simply a tragic accidental drowning death. Now, let's see if they cover the details here. Ayub says Rivera was discovered in the northeast portion of the lake near the surface of the water. Her body will be taken to the Ventura County Medical Examiner's Office for autopsy and positive identification. The sheriff says investigators used FaceTime calls Naya had with family members to help focus their search, along with speaking to other people who rented boats the day she went missing and saw her on the water. Ayub says based on a conversation with Naya's son, the two went for a swim and she was able to boost him back onto the boat, but when she turned around, she disappeared below the surface. The current was apparently very strong the day Naya went missing, and Ayub says it may have contributed to her drowning. She says her boat was not anchored when she went for a swim with her son. Naya's family was taken to her in a boat after her body was discovered. Then they've got some updates here. The Ventura County Sheriff's Department is set to hold a press conference at 2 p.m. Pacific time about the recovery of Naya's body. It's unclear if any friends or family will speak, but TMZ will be live streaming. A powerful moment just occurred at Lake Piru, where Naya's body was found Monday morning. Fellow co-stars of hers from Glee stood shoulder to shoulder with members of Naya's family, holding hands and looking out of the water. So there's the TMZ is not really a great outlet here. The way they structure their articles is pretty frustrating. But the fact of the matter is, Naya had been missing, and she was a star from the television show Glee there. So we've got an entertainment connected person. She had actually been missing for a while, which makes a couple of these details kind of, I don't know, just very interesting. One that kind of stood out to me was just to make note of, the sheriff says investigators used FaceTime calls Naya had with family members to help focus their search, along with speaking to other people who rented boats the day she went missing and saw her on the water. A couple of things that don't add up for me personally is, well, if she was with her son and put her son back on a boat and then drowned, why didn't we know? It's just very strange how we didn't know that she drowned, and they used FaceTime calls to find the body. Well, if people, first of all, using FaceTime calls, meaning either they just had a FaceTime call, on somebody's call
Screen
list that she
capturing,
knew,
yeah.
or they had access to the video recording that she made, which is, just something, in a legit investigation like this is not that big of a deal, as far as privacy concerns are, concerned in the story. But it is a little confusing, and they don't really address the fact that, well, they know exactly what happened and that people were present when she died. Then why did it take so long to figure out that she was missing and then find her body and all this if it happened right in front of at least her son? They don't mention who else was with them, except, I don't know, maybe the son was just alone on the boat and didn't tell anybody. I don't know. This doesn't make much sense to me.
I think the son was alone after the fact. But did you read the part where it said Corey Monteith, who was a lead on the show in its heyday, died 7 years ago on the same day Naya's body was discovered, July 13th.
Ah, there it is.
He was killed in 2013 by a deadly cocktail of intoxicants, including heroin and alcohol. So that's weird.
That is interesting. Yeah. I do remember his suicide or death a while back, but yeah, that was weird. Her body was found on the same day from 7 years ago. Now, again, remember, she was missing for a while. So I don't know what's going on here, but whenever you see 33 put up in front there, that's something's being communicated. And you might think, well, that's just one person who's 33. What's the problem? Lots of people are 33. Well, here's another one. This is NewYorkPost.com. Joe Biden's family racks up arrests for drugs, drunk driving, but no jail time. Why don't we hit that Biden jingle?
I'm a cup of Joe.
Got hairy legs.
Cup of Joe.
Got hairy legs.
There you go. In August 2019, Carolyn Biden, 33, a niece of former Vice President Biden, was busted in Lower Marion Township, Pennsylvania, for driving under the influence and without a license, public records show. While the case is active, it's unlikely Carolyn will face much in the way of consequences if history and Biden family rap sheets are any guide. Her arrest, which was never made public, was at least the 9th among Joe Biden's close family and followed incidences involving his brother Frank, his son Hunter, and his daughter Ashley. The cases ranging from felony theft to drug possession. Why would anybody in the Biden family need to commit a felony theft? Anyways.
Biden family seems to be involved in a lot of weird crimes that they just get away with.
Troubled people, yeah. The cases ranging from felony theft to drug possession were all either thrown out or resulted in light sentences with no jail time, according to a post-review of public records and published reports. The Pennsylvania drunken driving caller was the third run-in with the law for Caroline, who is the daughter of Joe's younger brother, James Biden Sr., in September of 2013. She was booked for allegedly hitting an NYPD officer during a full-scale meltdown at her Tribeca apartment following a dispute with a roommate over unpaid rent. The case was dismissed after Caroline agreed to anger management treatment. Isn't that nice? You can assault a police officer and just agree to take some anger management courses and completely get out of it. A lot of people in this country wish that they had access to that type of bargaining. In 2017, she was busted for spending more than $110,000 on a stolen credit card. A felony conviction was later tossed, and she was allowed to replead to the lesser charge of petty larceny, and as part of a sweetheart deal negotiated by her attorneys, she avoided jail time. There's no evidence that Joe Biden, now the presumptive Democratic nominee for president, ever personally interceded on his family's behalf, but the string of favorable outcomes has raised eyebrows. Quote, Eric Garner or George Floyd on the day each died could have benefited from the Biden touch, criminal defense attorney Robert Barnes told the Post. Barnes, who is currently representing Central Park Karen Amy Cooper, added that the kid gloves for Biden's kin was very unusual treatment when looking at the treatment over time, geography, and kind of crimes involved. Biden's campaign spokesman TJ Ducklow, when asked if Biden ever made phone calls to law enforcement on behalf of busted relatives, said no, he didn't, and this entire story is garbage. Whoa, okay. Whoa, settle down there, buddy. TJ. Settle down, TJ. The trouble for Ashley Biden, 39, started with a pot bust when she was a student at Tulane University in 1999. New Orleans police confirmed the possession arrest of the daughter of the then Delaware senator, but no conviction was recorded in court records. 10 years later, during her father's vice presidency, video circulated showing a woman resembling Ashley snorting what appeared to be cocaine at a party. You can't prove nothing. Joe Biden refused to comment on the reports, and there were no legal consequences. A second misdemeanor arrest for the Biden daughter was reported in 2002 after she allegedly attempted to obstruct a police officer making intimidating statements after bottle throwing brawl outside of a Chicago bar. The charges were dropped. Ashley hung up the phone when contacted by the Post. Joe Biden's brother, Francis Frank Biden, 66, won the prize for the most bizarre Biden family bust when he allegedly stuffed 2 DVDs from a Florida Blockbuster down his pants in October 2003, cops said. He was 49 at the time. He never showed up for a scheduled court hearing on the attempted theft, and the state attorney declined to prosecute. According to records obtained by Miami News Times, he had more serious scrapes with the law, as we've covered in the past. He was pinched in August 2003 for drunk driving in Fort Lauderdale, earning 6 months probation. He was arrested a year later for driving with a suspended license, but avoided jail again by spending 3 months in rehab. In 1999, Biden was a passenger in a car involved in a fatal drunk driving accident. He was found partially liable for the death of 38-year-old William Albano and owes his family almost $1 million, according to the Daily Mail. Details of that drunk driving incident that killed the father of 2 young girls included the detail that Biden's brother, who is this? Is this Frank we're talking about? Yes, Frank was drunk and threw the car out of gear while they were driving down the road. Just to kind of screw with the driver, and that ended up killing somebody, which he has avoided paying for almost 20 years. So there you go. We know about Frank. Let's see. And we've got Hunter Biden and his history of drug abuse. We know about that, as well as the issue in Ukraine. Let's see here. There was a pretrial intervention. This is about his drug thing. Yep. I'll skip the rest. There you go. So more Biden troubles, of course, starting out the article with a good old 33. And, you know, I would have to guess on the signaling of this, being that if you're in the Biden family, you can get away with literally murder and still be fine. So this might be some signaling for, you know, no matter what Biden does, he still gets to try to be president, or maybe be president. We'll see. Let's see here. And
he gets to, there's another 33 here, but this is interesting because it's not an age, but it's mentioned from the other side. So
I'm a Cup of Joe. Got hairy legs. Cup of Joe. Got hairy legs.
This was a tweet sent out by Donald Trump Jr. Joe Biden's record of plagiarism goes back decades. Today, he's the same dishonest plagiarist he was 33 years ago.
There it is.
Yeah, and it's kind of a funny clip. This is an old newscast of Joe Biden basically saying the same type of stuff as another politician from another country, by the way. And you know how we have these mashups now of newscasters saying the same thing over and over and over again. It's very similar to that, but this is from like the, I guess, 88 or 87. So I'll play about a minute here of the report.
Democratic presidential candidate Joseph Biden today faces a controversy. 3 weeks ago at a debate at the Iowa State Fair, he used phrases identical to those delivered by British Labour Party leader Neil Kinnock.
Biden seemed to be claiming Kinnock's vision and life as his own.
Why is it that my wife is sitting out there in the audience, is the first in her family to ever go to college?
Why is Gladys the first woman in her family in 1,000 generations to be able to get to university?
My ancestors who worked in the coal mines in northeast Pennsylvania don't come up after 12 hours and play football.
8 hours underground and then come up and play football.
It's because they didn't have a platform upon which to stand.
There was no platform upon which they could stand.
Kind of goes on here. There's multiple reports of the kind, but one of the things that's weird though is he says 1,000 generations. You know, why is my wife the first to go to college? Did they have universities 1,000 generations ago?
1,000 generations. I don't even know if I mean, that's like back before biblical times. That's pre-biblical.
Before added, that's
pre-Ademic.
They might be. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're tipping their hand.
Yes, he's referring to
the Atlantean days, or even before that. The pre-Adamic race is who these politicians are related to. So anyway, that's another. You googly eyes. Somebody brought up how there's a bunch of weird deaths recently, and I did note on Twitter that Lisa Marie Presley's son, Elvis Presley's grandson, was found dead in apparent suicide. He was 27 years old, and 27 is a very famous age to die for musicians.
27 Club.
I've mentioned a few: Kurt Cobain, Robert Johnson, Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, Amy Winehouse, Brian Jones, and I listed who else, but I don't think I got a whole list of other people, and some people didn't quite understand the reason why for the list. But there's been quite a few 27 deaths, and of course 2 + 7 is 9, and you got the 9 number, the occult number there. So just something to point out, as a lot of celebrities seem to be, or celebrity related folks seem to be going down here in the last week or so. I mean, it's constant, but definitely some stuff happening.
Got him.
But that's it's sad when you see people that young die.
Yeah,
especially when they're associated with rock legends like Elvis Presley.
Yeah, well, whoever, any 27-year-old, that's too soon.
Yeah.
All right, tell me about these fires, Guns. You're all fired up about these fires.
Oh, the fires! It will kill everybody.
It will kill,
and the fires will burn. Oh, where's my burn it all jingle? Do I not have it? I thought I prepared the burn it all jingle.
No.
Hold on, give me a second here.
You have let it burn in here. Let it burn.
I know, but where's the jingle for it? Oh gosh, did I lose it? That was like a constant on my little board here. Well, anyway, we'll find it later. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so there's a bunch of stories about fires, particularly interesting regarding churches. The first one I had here, I'll just read the headline for this one because it's not really as relevant as the other ones, but MSN.com reported Union Pacific Rail Yard in North Platte site of large fire, where a rail car loaded with automobiles at Union Pacific's Bailey Yard in North Platte was consumed by fire. I don't think anyone was hurt with that one. And then this one here, BostonGlobe.com, Virgin Mary statue in Dorchester burned in alleged arson.
Ooh.
And I'll read a little bit of this if the story pops up. There's no story popping up here. What is going on with that?
I got it here.
You got it? Okay.
A statue of the Virgin Mary near St. Peter's Church in Dorchester was left charred after someone set plastic flowers in the statue's hands on fire Saturday night, according to Boston police. Officers responded to a report of a fire about 10 p.m. Saturday near 284 Bowden Street, where the statue had been set afire, police said in a statement. An unknown suspect set fire to the plastic flowers tucked into the statue's hands, which are clasped in prayer, according to the statement. On Sunday morning, the upper body and face of the white statue appeared blackened, drawing stares from passerby. The statue sits at the entrance to a parking lot for a teen center and therapeutic day school across the street from St. Peter's Church. Quote, "Whoever is responsible for the desecration of the Holy Mother's statue is clearly a troubled soul," said Terrence Donnellan, a spokesperson for Cardinal Sean O'Malley, in a statement Sunday afternoon. "Mary represents all that is good and pure in our world," he said. "We have confidence in local law enforcement to investigate this matter. We pray for the person or persons responsible." Police said the incident is under investigation and request that any member of the public with information contact detectives. Blah, blah, blah.
Burn it all.
Oh, no. Somebody who was not very happy about the Mother Mary statue being there. Or at least maybe they just hate plastic flowers and Mary was just collateral damage.
Yeah. And then there's obviously the story. Well, let me go through this Navy thing and then we'll go back to church related fires.
Okay.
This is Fox News via MSN. Navy raises injury toll from USS Bonhomme Richard Blaze to 57. Fire still burning. It's a couple hours ago maybe a few hours now. Firefighting teams in San Diego, California worked through the night and into the morning to extinguish a fire that continued to burn aboard the USS Bonhomme Richard as the Navy on Monday raised the injury toll to 57 people. And if you're watching, you got some pictures of the fire. The fire broke out aboard the ship docked at Naval Base San Diego around 11:30 a.m. local time on Sunday. More than 22 hours later, the Navy said the fire was still burning. 5 of the injured were sailors who were admitted to local hospitals and listed in stable condition, the Navy said. The other 52 injuries included both sailors and civilians who received treatment for minor injuries, including heat exhaustion and smoke inhalation. The Navy initially reported the fire had caused 21 injuries. Quote, as of 6:49 a.m., firefighting teams continue to operate on board USS Bonhomme Richard, LHD-6, in addition to aerial firefighting operations that commenced via helicopter water bucket at 1:30 a.m. PST, with 2 helicopters from Helicopter Sea Combat Squadron 3, the Navy said in an earlier update. The fire's cause was unknown and pending an investigation. On Sunday night, the Navy moved 2 guided missile destroyers, USS Fitzgerald and USS Russell, that were docked near the USS Bonhomme Richard to a more distant pier. 3 years ago, USS Fitzgerald was involved in a collision at sea near Japan that killed 7 sailors. Parts of San Diego woke up Monday to burning electrical smell that the result of the acrid smoke billowing from the ship fire, Fox 5 San Diego reported. City and county health officials issued air quality warnings advising residents to close their windows and limit time spent outdoors if there is a strong smell of smoke in their area or if they have health issues. Quote, in areas of heavy smoke, assume that air quality levels range from unhealthy to sensitive for sensitive groups to unhealthy for all individuals, the county's air advisory warned, according to the station. In areas with minor smoke impacts, assume the air quality levels range from moderate to unhealthy for sensitive groups. Rear Admiral Philip Sobeck told reporters Sunday there were no large caches of weapons aboard the ship and that he was not concerned about the toxicity of the fumes, the station reported. If you look at the type of fire we have, again, an ashy fire. There's nothing toxic in there, Sobeck said. It's just black smoke, and we're starting to see more white smoke, which is a good sign, as if they're picking a pope or something. The ship was in San Diego for scheduled maintenance. So, yeah, it might just be coincidence, but very strange that a military ship would burn to that level.
Yeah,
and,
well,
along with all the other fires.
It said at the beginning there that there was an explosion. You know, they're hospitalized following an explosion, and then talked about it being a fire. I'm scanning the rest of the article here. I'm having a hard time seeing if they know exactly what the cause of the explosion was. It was unclear what caused the explosion, but that there is a low risk for secondary explosions, he says. Interesting. Well, you know, there's certainly, in the history of explosions on naval ships docked in harbor, it's rarely something benign. I mean, that's certainly going to be some investigation in there.
The last time a kind of Navy ship was, or at least there's no fatalities here, but at least had some kind of explosion, was it, did it spark a war? Or was there something in between? There's got to be something.
Yeah, there's one a few years ago, I believe, down in California. There was actually a terrorist attack. Somebody drove a little Zodiac out with explosives and blew a hole in a ship that was out.
Right. I remember that.
Harbor
yes,
there in Southern California.
I remember that. Yeah. Okay. All right. So maybe there's been a few more, but. There's one more story here that I wanted to get to with this. Do you want to read this one?
Sure.
It's from foxnews.com.
Here we go. Foxnews.com. The article is titled Catholic Churches Burned, Vandalized Over Weekend as Police Investigate. Where's the outrage? A slew of Catholic churches from Florida to California were burned and vandalized over the weekend as police continue to investigate whether or not they are connected to protests targeting symbols and statues. Interesting how even from Fox here, this is categorized as if they're connected to protests targeting symbols and statues, and not a hate crime directed towards a religious group. Following George Floyd's police-related death in May, Black Lives Matter leaders and protesters called for the toppling of statues from Confederate symbols to former U.S. presidents and abolitionists. Oh, clever Fox. Activist Sean King called for all images depicting Jesus as a white European and his mother to be torn down because they're forms of white supremacy and racist propaganda. Meanwhile, people on social media point out the lack of mainstream coverage of the weekend incidents. Quote, churches are being burned to the ground. What? Mike Cernovich, a controversial right-leaning author, said in a video on Twitter. Why is this not the biggest story of the day? Sean Feet, a California worship leader and pastor, commenting on the incidences, asked, where's the outrage? A man in Florida plowed his vehicle. A man in Florida plowed his vehicle into the Queen of Peace Catholic Church as it was preparing for morning mass on Saturday, poured gasoline in the foyer, and then set the building on fire before driving off, the Marion County Sheriff's Office reports. Wow, this is extreme. This is not just a mysterious fire in the night. Stephen Anthony Shields, 24, was arrested and charged with attempted murder, arson, burglary, and evading arrest. He told investigators what he did was awesome and that he was on a mission as he smiled and laughed while admitting to setting the church ablaze, according to an arrest affidavit obtained by the Ocala Star-Banner. Shields, who lives in nearby Dunellen, told a detective he has problems with the Catholic Church and has been diagnosed with schizophrenia and is not taking his medication, the Star-Banner reported. Despite the church foyer being heavily damaged, Mass was celebrated Saturday and Sunday, according to local news. Around the same time as the Florida incident, a 249-year-old Catholic church in the Archdiocese of Los Angeles caught fire. The San Gabriel Church, which was undergoing renovations for its upcoming 250th anniversary, went up in flames around 4 a.m., burning the roof and the insides of the church. That's interesting. During renovations, that's very similar to the Notre Dame fire, if you remember, from last year. Remember when Notre Dame catching fire was the biggest world catastrophe? I've lost him. He's gone, folks.
No, I'm here. Sorry. It's really not working out with the baby here.
You got a baby running around.
I don't know why she's in here.
Okay. So
why do I pay the babysitter?
The cause of the fire is under investigation, but the recent destruction of monuments to Junipero Serra, the founder of the California mission system, whom indigenous activists view as a symbol of oppression, will be a factor in the investigation. Captain Antonia Negretti of the San Gabriel Fire Department told the local Fox 11 news outlet, quote, this will be another box that they're going to check off, he said, adding, it's a tragic loss for our city. It's our city identifier. A statue in the Virgin Mary. So they talk about the statue that we just talked about. A lot of church fires. Other church incidences over the weekend. Also, another church fire in San Diego is being investigated by police as the 12:30 a.m. Sunday morning blaze seems suspicious, the department's Metro Arson Strike Team said. Calvary Baptist is a historically black church, though its website says it has become a multicultural faith community in recent years. President Trump has adamantly opposed toppling any monuments and symbols, signing an executive order to protect them and punish offenders with prison time. Yeah, so not just Catholic churches. We got this Calvary Baptist also getting set ablaze on Sunday morning. This, I don't know, man. This kind of this smells a little bit of some serious persecution troubles here.
Yeah, and I find it curious that they quote Cernovich here in this article. Cernovich being notoriously tied to, they say right wing, or extreme right wing, or what is it, fringe right wing, whatever they called him, right leaning author. Okay, controversial right leaning author. And he blocked me on Twitter because he made that okay sign over and over again.
Right.
And I made a video just asking the question. I didn't really accuse him of anything. I said, why are you doing that sign over and over again? I know it was like the thing in the around the 2016 election, but we've pointed out how that symbolizes the 666 as well.
Yeah, well, that symbol gets a lot of guff because now it's a far right wing symbol that's been banned in a bunch of ways. It's also just one of those symbols that you kind of make without thinking about it. So there's been a bunch of people canceled for no reason. But yes, also that symbol being the 666 symbol. So you can't make the okay symbol anymore. No matter who you are, you're going to get canceled for one reason or another.
Well, especially with him, he made it a bunch of times with prominent figures and stuff like. There's pictures of him all over the place, and it just seems like one of those things that you're signaling to whoever your handler is or whatever is going on. And the fact that he blocked me for just asking the question is also very interesting.
I've blocked people for less.
Yeah, see, I don't really block people. Maybe that's my character default, but I'd rather just let them say whatever and just
you like the pain.
I like the misery it brings.
I actually had to block somebody in the chat today because I was just tired of their guff. I did it quietly. They're probably very angry at me, but I just had to do it.
Yeah. But the whole church thing, I do think it's very strange. And certainly the fact that, it's Fox News picking it up and quoting Cernovich is also suspect in my view.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Let's see here. Is there anything else in your fire playlist you've got here?
Not really. I mean, this is again, it's just bringing up the point that it just seems like they are doing this divide and conquer, and they are pushing out the right wing, so to speak. I don't know, like a outrage or kind of like a roundup of the right to get behind a certain type of message, and burning down churches could be one of those rallying cries. We may see more of this.
Oh, certainly.
As a way
if enough churches start getting burned down, that's going to mobilize a certain part of the right as well.
Right.
Which, if you're looking at this in the context now, who knows if this is actually what's the plan is, but if you look at it in the context of trying to spark another civil war, that's a good way to mobilize at least one side of that. We've already got a militant left arming themselves, which is a story that we will talk about after the break. And of course, the right, there's certain ways to mobilize them into violence as well. We see all of this happening, and we'll discuss this more right after this break. So you don't want to go anywhere. After the break, we're going to be talking about the Black Militia. We're going to be talking about some Nazi T-shirts.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. We're gonna do
the VR time machine.
Yes, the VR time machine. Another little VR update, as well as a little cyborg story. So all sorts of stuff coming up after the break. Don't go anywhere. But Gons, let's take a break.
It's break time.
Come on, take a break. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for sticking with us. I'm just going to refresh here. I do not believe there's any more Twitch followers, so that's okay. That'll shorten up this break a little bit, but we want to take the opportunity to thank some of our new producers. Now, what am I talking about? Well, here's the thing, folks. Oh, I almost choked on my own self. We subscribe to the value for value model. What does that mean? Well, you're probably used to content creators, YouTube videos, podcasts, all sorts of media, advertising in order to support themselves. And here's the problem. We believe, and a lot of other people believe, that advertising is one of the main reasons why the world is in such disarray. And, I might go deeper into that because some people don't quite understand the impact of advertising driving all media right now. But let me tell you, it's a huge reason for the echo chambers and the over exaggeration of stories, the clickbait, the everything. It's all based on advertisement. And so, it's part of this world system, this worldly system of monetizing content. And we said, no thanks. That's not how we want to do it. We don't feel right about that. We do not feel right about gaining your trust and your attention and turning around and selling it for our own personal gain. So instead, we used to use the term donations. We accepted donations, but we soon realized that wasn't correct. That wasn't the truth about what was going on. Instead, when people listen long enough or they value the content we create enough, instead of becoming donors, they become producers of the show, because this is the real world, baby. We are not just some hobbyists. This is the real deal. So if you help support and pay for the production of our material, you're a producer. You're not just a donor. You're not just a listener. You're not just a generous person. You are officially a producer of the show. And today, Gons, we have a couple of new producers. You ready to hear about them?
Let's do it.
Okay.
I want to hear their names.
Yes. One easy way to help produce the show financially is by going to patreon.com/CCNT. That's for Canary Cry News Talk. And today, since last show, let's see. We got no new producers on that Patreon. So there you go. Okay, slow week for patreon.com/CCNT. But I'm hopping over to patreon.com/Canary Cry Radio, and there we have a brand new producer. Everybody thank and welcome Chad for supporting the show. And Chad actually sent a message. Let me scan it real quick because I don't want to give away anything he didn't want read on the show. Well, he says, I've been a long-time listener all the way since I first found Gonz's first Age of Deceit video about a year or two ago when it was first released. It was released significantly before that, but he must have found it. Or maybe he found Age of Deceit 3. And Gonz, he wanted to let you know that because of that video, I found the saving grace of our Savior. I was a truck driver for 13 years, and a lot of those years were spent with you two as my co-drivers. So first of all, thank you two for what you do. I can't wait to one day meet you both in this life or the next. And then he tells us a little bit more about his personal situation after that. So thank you so much, Chad. And we appreciate you becoming a producer of the show. Keep on listening, thinking outside the cage.
Hallelujah.
That's right. Now, so there you go. Those are two ways you can become a producer: patreon.com/CCNT and patreon.com/Canary Cry Radio. But here's the thing. A lot of people don't like Patreon, and that's okay because we've got canarycryradio.com/support. canarycryradio.com/support. That's right. And over there at canarycryradio.com/support, we've got PayPal options to support the show. You can make a recurring monthly contribution to producing the show, or make a one-time donation in any amount. Dang, there's that word donation again. One-time contribution to become a producer. Let's see. And today, Gons, over on the PayPal, who do we got?
We have a good handful of people recurring, but a new recurring supporter or producer, Wesley.
Hey, what's up, Wesley? Thank you very much, Wesley. You are the man.
I do want to say that we had a couple deletions of supporters on the Patreon Canary Cry News Talk.
Yes.
We're at 189 patrons.
Ooh.
And it'd be cool if we can get to 200.
That would be a nice little,
good
little, what is the word I'm looking for? I don't know.
Accomplishment. Number.
Nice little accomplishment. And not for us. That's not we do what we do, but it's an accomplishment. It's a statement about our listenership, that they value what we do and that they want to hit a certain goal and support the show and keep the show going, because we're only able to keep doing this show because of our generous producers. We got nothing else. There's no ads. The YouTube has been demonetized. All we got is you folks. And because we're on the value for value system, whether you've been listening to 1 episode or 10 episodes or 100 episodes, however many you've been listening to, please take a second and consider what it's worth to you. What has it been worth to you? What is it worth to you today? And what's it going to be worth to you when we're back on Wednesday? And if you there you go. Take that into consideration, pray about it, and see if you are led to help produce the show, because we cannot do it without you. Thank you so much. And remember to go to canarycryradio.com/support, because not only do we have PayPal options, but also some cryptocurrency options there for all you crypto folks. If you're looking for a different way to support the show, that's a great way to do it. Boom.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And remember, there's other great ways to support the show, creating jingles for us, creating art for us, all sorts of good ways. We'll talk to you a little bit more about that after our next segment, bringing you the goods. And Gons, I don't know if you have it lined up, but we had a pretty good mom. We've had several good mom jingles come in, but there was a new one that came in last week, and the producer just wanted to remind me about it. I don't know if you have it lined up for today, but we might line that up for Wednesday, because we like doing stories about moms, because they keep the world a-turning.
I forgot to do some of that.
I don't think
to look.
I didn't see any artwork come in for this week either. So. So there you go. We'll check back in on all that kind of fun stuff on Wednesday. So, Thank you very much, everybody. And Gons, what do you say? Let's get back to the show. Oh, I do want to remind everybody, we also have the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames, which is a special elite group of producers who over the years have given who supported the show in $1,000 or more. Some of that's one-time donations. Some of that's long-time recurring donations. Very cool. And we like to honor those supporters. Those producers rather. No new knights or dames today. So there you go. We're waiting for our next knight or dame to show up. We'd love to honor you on the show. But okay, Gons, let's wake up.
Yes, it's wake up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
Okay, so this has been floating around for at least a week. I think a little bit more than a week. And people, longtime listeners, or at least listeners in the past couple months, will remember my enthusiasm for the black citizens in Minneapolis who armed themselves and created community patrols because the police were unavailable in their town. And these are people who, these are not necessarily people who want to defund the police. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But they are law-abiding citizens, legally carrying, firearms to protect their own neighborhoods from a lot of chaos that was going on in Minneapolis. And there's some more interesting stuff. I don't want to connect these black militias to Minneapolis per se, but there's an interesting movement going on and we need to talk about it. So I'm going to, now here's one of the big problems, Gons. This is a well-known thing going on, documented in videos and statements from these actual militia members, and I could not find any mainstream outlet talking about it. I couldn't even find a Fox affiliate talking about it or something. So, I tried really hard to get a mainstream look on this, but I just couldn't do it because they're ignoring it. Even though, there's verifiable videos and statements from these organizations, and yet being completely ignored by the mainstream. And of course, we'll get into theorizing about why that's the case. But I'm over here on andmagazine.com, and expert analysis and commentary. So here we go. This article is titled Black Lives Matter Leader Declares War on Police, Says Will Develop Highly Trained Military Arm. Now, my suspicion is that this is a right-leaning outlet here, so keep that in mind as we try to sift through the details. But let's do it. In an interview, it says there is a Daily Mail thing. Maybe I can pull that up. Yeah, okay. Well, I do now have this Daily Mail article put up, which is the most mainstream article I could find. So let's take it from there. So in fact, I'm going to go from dailymail.co.uk, and in classic Daily Mail fashion, they've got a whole paragraph as their headline here, but it reads, exclusive. We prepare to stop these murders by any means necessary. Black Lives Matter leader declares war on police and group is training our people to defend our communities in Black Panther-style armed patrols. A Black Lives Matter leader has declared war on the police and plans to release a blueprint for change that involves Black Panther-style armed patrols monitoring the behavior of officers on the streets, Daily Mail TV can reveal. Hawk Newsom, chairman of BLM's Greater New York chapter, says the Black rights group is mobilizing its base and aims to develop a highly trained military arm to challenge police brutality head-on. In an exclusive interview, Newsom says the BLM movement has marched for years to wake people up to the realities of police brutality and oppression, and he believes that since the tragic death of George Floyd, who died after his neck was pinned under the knee of white police officer Derek Chauvin during an arrest on Memorial Day in Minneapolis, people have finally awoken. Quote, it's our obligation, it is our duty to provide people with a pathway forward, he said. Quote, we want liberation. We want the power to determine our own destiny. We want freedom from an oppressive government. And we want the immediate end of government-sanctioned murder by police. And we prepare to stop these government-sanctioned murders by any means necessary. We are prepared and training our people to defend communities. The bold and potentially inflammatory statement will likely infuriate those who have grown angry with days of BLM protests that have sparked violence and destruction across America. Newsom is currently in Los Angeles, a city devastated by rioting this past few days, where he held a think tank attended by members of the BLM Greater New York leadership and, quote, military advisors. The meeting was held at the offices of Incredible Entertainment, owned by actor and musician Nick Cannon, a fervent BLM supporter who also attended. In a conference room at the trendy compound in Burbank, Newsom said the group hammered out details of the Black Ops blueprint, which stands for Black Opportunities. A new direction, he hopes, will be the beginning of the liberation of the Black people. Black Lives Matter has tens of thousands of activists protesting the death of George Floyd in dozens of cities around America and across the world. And BLM's Greater New York chapter has emerged at the forefront of the movement as Black rights become a topic for debate. Newsom, 43 and imposing 6'6", who wore shades and smoked a thick cigar for our photo shoot, believes his group can lead the war on police. I gotta scroll through some images here. He says the police have waged war on Black people for decades, but his chapter is escalating the battle. We're talking about self-defense. We're talking about defending our communities, he explains. Quote, you know what it's like to see a taser pointed at a 7-year-old. You know what it's like to see a 67-year-old Black woman pepper sprayed and pushed to the ground. Newsom, wearing a black I Can't Breathe t-shirt with beads and an Ethiopian religious cross pendant around his neck, said his group has military advisors on board to get the job done. Quote, we have black special forces officers advising us, and we'll teach and train people in our communities. The Black Ops Department of Black Opportunities, he said. Quote, what we'll see is people put in place to defend our communities from police who will murder us and get away with it. In a move reminiscent of the strategy adopted by the controversial Black Panther Party in the 1960s, Newsom said BLM will create peace officers who will patrol black communities to challenge law enforcement and stop police brutality. Asked if the police officers would be armed and open carry their guns in the states that allow it, I'm sorry, I think I misspoke there. Asked if the peace officers would be armed and open carry their guns in the states that allow it, he said, yes, absolutely. Founded in 1966, the Black Panther Party's core practice was its open carry armed citizen patrols, known as cop watching, to monitor the behavior of officers of the Oakland Police Department and challenge police brutality in the city. But members of the BPP were involved in a string of fatal firefights with police, while many others were convicted of assaulting dozens of police officers. However, the group emerged as one of the most influential black movement organizations of the late 1960s, and at its height in 1970, it had 68 offices and thousands of members across America. More scrolling. The BPP also became synonymous with the Black Power symbol, a symbol displayed on a giant banner on the wall at Nick Cannon's offices, which Newsom posed for photos in front of. The BLM chapter chairman doesn't hide from the fact that his group's blueprint replicates some of the ideologies of the BPP, which is the Black Panther Party. Quote, we pattern ourselves after the Black Panthers, after the Nation of Islam. We believe that we need an arm to defend ourselves, he says. We will build and train peace officers to keep the peace in our communities, to defend our communities, to keep our communities safe. I don't see us working with police. I see us policing ourselves. I see us teaching black people how to police their own communities. Newsom says his chapter is now raising a war chest and plans to build a headquarters in an unused church in New York. But while big money donations have been flooding in from celebrities and high-worth individuals, he insists his group won't accept the corporate dollar. Quote, we've never received a corporate dollar as Black Lives Matter. Greater New York. Oh, okay, so his specific chapter claims to not have received corporate dollars. He said, quote, we have had an immense amount of support from Nick Cannon. We've had support recently from Rihanna and her Savage Fenty brand. But most of our donations are small dollar donations from regular people of all colors who respect what we stand for. Quote, when we start talking about black opportunities and building our war chest to defend ourselves from the war on the poor, to defend ourselves against the war that is anti-blackness in America, then people will have to meet a certain criteria. Let me see how much more we have here. Okay, we're almost finished. Newsom says the blueprint also aims to ensure that the black community has fair housing, economic empowerment, and wants to nurture entrepreneurship. Quote, we want freedom from oppression and we don't believe in equality, but we fight for equity and access, he said. Interesting. The Bronx native who recently returned from a trip to Minneapolis also says education is key, and he wants to teach people how to use the law as a tool. Quote, we want to teach knowledge to our people, teach them their history, which American textbooks omit. We want to teach them about the law, he explained. We'll bring in kids and teach them and train them in the way that the Black Panthers used to do. Newsom says the organization also aims to feed the poor, but it's people in positions of power to make a change for the better and push for new legislation in government. But as rioting continues across the nation, Newsom refused to call for an end to the violence and looting. Instead, he believes the world needs to be more empathetic towards the rioters. Quote, you're talking about people who have been told time and time again that their black lives don't matter, he said. You're talking about people who witness their peers and their family members in incarcerated at unfair rates. You're looking at people who are miseducated. And then to add insult to injury, the government allows police to come in and kill us and allow police officers to continuously get away with killing us. Any person would be outraged. Newsom said the looting is ultimately a product of capitalist America and its treatment of the black community. They want to go out, this quote, they want to go out and grab all those things that America told them that they should have, but they couldn't have, he says. Quote, the people are poor, people are desperate, people are frustrated. So what do you expect them to do? People want to destroy because they're angry and they're frustrated. He added, quote, Black Lives Matter didn't create this violence. Black Lives Matter is a product of this violence. The rioters are the product of the violence. Newsom, who has a law degree and was a project manager at a law firm before becoming full-time activist, says Black Lives Matter Greater New York has risen to the point where it is one of the most effective BLM organizations in the world. He describes its president, 19-year-old Nupal Kiozolu, as the second most influential young activist behind Greta Thunberg. BLM Greater New York's blueprint will be unveiled in Times Square, New York on Sunday at 12 p.m. The document will be delivered to black communities across America. So there you go. There's the whole thing. That was quite the read, but I think valuable to get every word in there. Now, this was put out actually about a month ago. And since then, we've seen a lot of videos of maybe the growing movement of the black militia there. Many of you may have seen the video. There was recently a march through a national park to demand tearing down of another Confederate monument. Of course, there's videos floating around that some people claim being harassment tactics towards regular people in cars, just hanging out, not necessarily police operatives, police officers, and those connected with it. In fact, there was some questioning in one of the videos where one of these militia people was knocking on the window of a man sitting in a minivan asking, "Who are you with?" Probably indicating that they may have thought he was maybe an undercover cop or something like that. So, Gons, are you there or are you with the baby?
I'm here.
Okay. So what are your thoughts
yeah.
off the top of your head? I've got a couple other stories with more details, but right off the top here, what are you thinking?
I not knowing a ton of history about the Black Panthers, I haven't done an extensive study on their movement. I know they were violent in certain instances. But one thing that I found interesting was that the FBI in 1969 declared them as a communist organization. And so back in the 60s, they were synonymous with, the kind of the communist takeover of America based on their tactics and based on their philosophies. And so it's just interesting that today, in this resurgence of this communistic move in America, that they would be mobilizing the Black Panther-ish type of movement again. And, I find it interesting that, because on one hand, a lot of what this gentleman here, Newsom, a lot of the gripes he has is class warfare, not necessarily, black warfare, although I get it that there's a lot of black communities and stuff that are oppressed and things of that nature. Specifically
in, poor, in
poor neighborhoods. Yeah.
Statistically poorer as a whole.
Right. And I get that, but it has a lot more to do with, I think, class warfare and economic a type of not capitalism itself. And he actually goes after capitalism, right? In the article, I think he mentioned how capitalism created this. But really, it's more of like a crony capitalism that created these types of inequalities. And it's not really an open, free market capitalism that has thrived. And, the centralization of the central banks and stuff like that. So it's the same stuff that's oppressing everybody. But the response, I suppose, is different depending on how you identify with the issues. And although there is a part of me that understands a sort of a move towards this direction and using a sort of the kind of defend yourself type of libertarianism type of philosophy. I'm worried that it sort of trickles into a more communist type of move without even realizing it, especially, having ties with Islam and stuff like that. Just philosophically, I'm not saying that each individual here is evil or anything like that. It's usually a philosophy that ought to be criticized in this type of situation.
It's the biggest criticism, I think, from us about communism or socialism in general is the power that it puts in the hands of the state, and how that, if history is to be, used as an example, you put too much power in the hands of any organization, but especially a state, it inevitably is misused, and if not misused, allocation is not as fair to everybody as the ideology would hope.
Yeah, it's the same. I'm bringing it up all the time, but
for
it's
example,
George
Uyghur Muslims in China by the millions in quote re-education camps today.
Right.
That's what communism gets you.
Yeah, and the story, the George Orwell book. Of course, he's famous for 1984, but he also had the book Animal Farm, and in that book that is supposed to be kind of the same story of communism, and how the pigs in the farm basically tell or convince all the other animals that they're being treated unfairly by the humans, and so, hey, help us take over the humans. And of course, everyone gets riled up, they buy into it, and ultimately in the end the pigs take over the farm, and the animals who helped are left to their, the same situation they're in before, just now this time, instead of the humans in charge who are actually helping, feeding the animals and stuff, and at least respecting the animals, now you have these pigs that are in charge, and it's worse. The situation is worse. So I just feel like the ideologies, I guess the idealism with any type of movement is based on the certain types of like context of the evil, the quote unquote evil that they're trying to eradicate, never really turns out the way they hope, and the fear here is that there is a violent turn to these groups that are there. They're saying all the right things. We're here. They're, trained militia. Those types of things are part of a more libertarian sort of philosophy. But again, it can easily spill into the communistic type of move, and a lot of people can get hurt. Because of the fact that they think they're defending something more righteous. And even, within the history of the Black Panthers, of course, there were police murders and stuff like that, but there were also a lot of murders of their own people. One suspecting of, working with the FBI, their murders within the ranks. And so that becomes a problem if you're all about freedom and stuff, but then you suspect that they're working with the white man or whatever, is the accusation. And all of a sudden you have murders from within, and that just heightens more violence. And I don't know. It just feels like it is being set up for something not so great.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, on the subject of violence, because as we saw with Chaz up there in Seattle, Chaz Chop, this self-policing idea is interesting. And the problem with the discussion surrounding violence in these groups is that they don't even claim to be nonviolent. They're
right. It's like, of course we're violent. Right. It's the natural response.
The subject of violence is not even part of the conversation. The subject of violence is brought into the conversation by outsiders, which, not to say that that's the wrong thing to do. It's probably the right thing to do, but these people, not claiming to be nonviolent, so to bring up the conversation of violence, if we were talking to one of the members today and saying, hey, somebody's going to get hurt, they'd say, yeah, probably.
Right.
That's the point. But so this is an interesting one. These are BLM, specifically BLM affiliated militias. Again, sort of reigniting the Black Panthers just in general. Like he said multiple times, he wants to replicate the Black Panther movement. But something to remind, just some things to be reminded about, because it's easy to have a fast response to this kind of story. But, wherever you're landing on this, there's a couple things to keep in mind, especially as many of our listeners are Second Amendment supporting people. Right. So when the Minneapolis people started up their self-policing community patrol type people, it was a small group of people living in the neighborhoods that they are patrolling. And that is totally cool. In my opinion, the police were legitimately, the logistics in Minneapolis at the time were if you called 911, nobody would show up. And there were people taking advantage of that. And there's a couple things to remember in the context specifically of this Black Lives Matter group and the Black Panthers. One of them is, when you talk about the Second Amendment and gun control was only began because of gun control only began because of Black Panther tactics, where, when violence was being perpetrated against Black people in the 70s and 60s. And I believe, I don't have, the documents right in front of me, but this even was happening before that, that Black Panthers and Black Panther types actually were the ones that sparked the entire gun control issue, because they would show up on government property and they would do armed stand-ins, much like we saw, what state was it? We saw it during, the pandemic, where armed, this specific instance, it was mostly armed, Michigan. Yeah, armed militia members, mostly white, would show up at a government building, fully armed, fully, decked out and all their cool stuff. And, they used it to make a statement. It was an armed stand-in. Well, the Black Panthers used this same tactic back, half a century ago. And it was only when they did that gun control began. The history of American gun control began. And, not to mention that it was began by Democrats who didn't like, Black Panthers armed in their government buildings, but that's beside the point. And so we've seen this before. And so as it's it seems like an easy decision, especially for, just for whoever. But if you're a Second Amendment supporter, this is one of the situations where you're like, well, shoot. I mean, this whole thing is what started gun control. And we're always, trying to push against as much gun control as possible, because it's our right as Americans to be able to, at least send a message to a tyrannical government that they better not overstep any boundaries. That's, explicitly the reason for the Second Amendment. And so what we have here is a group of let's just assume law-abiding citizens arming themselves and trying to make a statement. But as you know, like I said, the violence issue is a big issue, because I don't know, I personally don't want more violence in the country that is already happening. Now, I'm not necessarily in the position of somebody who might join a group like this. So, my perspective is not the only perspective.
It looks like we're buffering a little bit on the live stream here.
Talking about when you start talking about the real history of gun control and the reason for the Second Amendment, they're going to cut you off like that. So if it drops, everybody remember to follow us on a podcatcher, Canary Cry News Talk. Right.
The other thing to point out is a lot of the sentiments shared by this guy are similar sounding to the quote unquote terrorist groups. Yes. Out there, Hezbollah, Hamas, Al-Qaeda, they all kind of had a similar mission statement. And that seems to suggest some type of intel operation, counter intel operation. So, with that, you got to keep that in mind too, that this type of stuff may be they say they're not funded directly, or they had a famous Nick Cannon, Hollywood guy funding it. It's always very strange and suspicious when you look at the money, and it's always tied into some of these Hollywood-ish types, especially with recently a lot of the BLM financing, the main group there, bunch of corporations sending in billions of dollars to this organization that clearly outlines the downfall of a nuclear family. Like, they don't want the nuclear family. Like, what are you even talking about? That has nothing to do with race or anything. Yeah. It's just, so it's just very troubling in that regard when you start going down this path. But again, I understand the sentiments, although, I get that it's only a small percentage of the African Americans that, quote unquote, make it in the financial sense. But, you pay attention to the NBA and professional sports in general, the NBA being a particular league that I'm a big fan of the NBA, but my goodness, with all their social justice stuff, they're going to have like BLM signs on the court and whatnot. And some people are against that, even from within the Black community. And the fact that these are millionaires, millionaire African Americans standing there saying, there's injustice against Black people. Maybe, I guess I get that they're speaking for the Black community who is not, who I guess are marginalized. I get it. But why not just speak for everyone who's marginalized,
Sure.
But anyway, those are just observations and just my opinions on some of this stuff. But yeah, I find it troubling when, we talk about oppression and all this stuff when there are examples all over the country of non-oppression, of people making it, of people succeeding, especially financially. And yeah, maybe it's not enough. Maybe millions of dollars is not enough. You want more billionaires in the African American community, or whatnot. Who knows?
I will just say a response from somebody who would get into this argument with you, which is not me, but I because I pay attention to the ideologies and the responses to these types of things. The response would be that a token Black millionaire is not indicative of the lack of a systemic problem.
Right.
And so there you go. You can prepare your response to that for when you
I know. And I would argue that you can definitely look at certain demographics and statistics and see that more African Americans are poor in this country than your token white man or whatever it is. But there are also, if you're just going by the numbers, there are more white, or I guess, European descent, homeless people in this country. So, it's just one of those things where if you're going to always divide things and divide people and define people by race, you're always going to be in a circular argument about, oh, this is better, that's better, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. It's always going to be by race. And it just really, it undermines a very basic biblical message of, no Greek, no Jew. The whole race idea,
the breaking
is divisive
down
by nature.
Of identity through the crucifixion.
Yes. Yeah. Right. And so that's kind of my point with all that, is that not that one argument for one race is correct or another. It's more so the whole thing undermines, what Jesus did on the cross.
There you go.
So,
well, I want to take a second, Gons, and I want to compare and contrast that story of a more Black Panthers community patrol, Black Lives Matter affiliated armed group versus a different group. This is Newsweek.com. The article is titled "Armed Black Militia Challenges White Nationalists at Georgia's Stone Mountain Park." About 1,000 heavily armed militia, all of whom were Black, marched through Georgia's Stone Mountain Park on Saturday, challenging white nationalist groups in the area to either come out and fight or join them in demonstrating against the government. Stone Mountain State Park officials said the Black militia group was peaceful, orderly, and escorted by police as they called for the removal of the country's largest Confederate monument near Atlanta. Videos posted to social media show the group the Not Effing Around Coalition, NFAC, meeting at the massive 9-story quartz sculpting that depicts former Confederate President Jefferson Davis and Southern Generals Robert E. Lee and Stonewall Jackson. NFAC, the Not Effing Around Coalition, founder Grand Master Jay told Newsweek via phone Sunday that the militia members at Stone Cold Steve Austin Mountain, that the militia members at Stone Mountain on Saturday were 100% black, and they are not, listen to this, they are not affiliated with Black Lives Matter. Quote, "We are a black militia. We aren't protesters. We aren't demonstrators. We don't come to sing. We don't come to chant. That's not what we do," he said. The NFAC head explained why several videos show the militia members alongside demonstrators earlier in that day before heading to Stone Mountain. Grandmaster Jay told Newsweek the sister of Rashard Brooks, who was killed outside an Atlanta Wendy's by police last month, requested that NFAC militia provide her with a security escort to a downtown rally that began at the site of her brother's death. Quote, "Our initial goal was to have a formation of our militia in Stone Mountain to send a message that as long as you're abolishing all these statues across the country, what about this one?" Grandmaster Jay said, referencing the massive Confederate carving. Now, let's see. We're going to get to a picture. Where is this picture? Can you pull up, maybe just do a Google image search? Because you kind of need to see Stone Mountain to understand what it is they're asking for. So pull that up, put it on the screen. Let me know when you got it there. I'm going to keep reading.
Oh yeah, reading. I remember seeing this. Yeah,
it's a humongous mountain with a carving into the side of it. I mean, as far as monuments go, it's a pretty impressive monument. But it's a gigantic rock, maybe, I don't know, 1,000 feet high.
Space rock.
Yeah, it's akin to Mount Rushmore in its size and, construction. The article continues. He added this, so to tear down that monument, you'd either need a stick of dynamite or
just get a pickaxe.
You need
and
to
just go after
refurbish the whole mountain somehow.
Yeah.
All right. The article continues. He added that he must commend Stone Mountain Police for offering the all-black militia support as they exercised their constitutional rights on July 4th. Quote, "It was all black. There were no brown people, no white people. Everyone was black. I am not a protester. I am the commanding general of my militia. We were swearing in new members," he added, highlighting there was a second militia show of force Saturday near Phoenix. Then there's a little video there. I don't know if you want to play that just to kind of get an idea of what this congregation looked like. It's men, women, they're all dressed out in black, pretty Black Panthers looking, and they all got their AR-15s. Good American gun owners there. The coalition of black militia met at the monument, which is historically tied to the birth of the Ku Klux Klan and has more recently been the site of white nationalist rallies. Leaders of the militia frequently halted the protest to challenge local white supremacists and far-right Second Amendment advocates to stop hiding. "I don't see no white militia. The Boogie Boys," referring to the Boogaloo Boys, "the 3%ers, and all the rest of these scared rednecks. We here, where the F you at? We're in your house," one protester said into a PA system during the Stone Mountain Park March.
He's not a protester.
They're not a protester. They're directly calling out people that are categorized as their enemies there. John Bankhead, a spokesman for the Stone Mountain Memorial Association, said the protests were orderly and acknowledged the Confederate monument is frequently used as a meeting place for far right-wing militia. Quote, "It's a public park, a state park. We have these protests on both sides of the issue from time to time. We respect people's First Amendment right," Bankhead told WXIA TV. "We understand the sensitivities of the issue here at the park, so we respect respect that and allow them to come as long as it's peaceful, which it has been. Videos shared by the visitors to the park Saturday showed several militia members responding to questions from confused motorists asking, "Who are you guys?" One member of the militia immediately threw the question right back at one white motorist and asked him about slavery reparations. Quote, "We want change. That's really going to permanently help us. We don't want any little change. We want some real change," one of the organizers said, noting that many black civil rights groups have been marching for a change since the 1960s and have largely been ignored. The park runs along Robert E. Lee Boulevard, named for the Confederate general who led the South during the Civil War. It reopened for the July 4th weekend after weeks of closure due to the coronavirus pandemic. Calls to remove or alter the massive Confederate monument have been reignited in the wake of George Floyd's death on May 15th in Minneapolis. And that's the end of it there. So there you go. This is interesting in combination because this black militia, 1,000 is a lot. That's a big militia. I mean, I was looking at the stats on just general militias in America, and most of them are quite small. 1,000 people all at the same time, congregating as a militia is a pretty large group of people as far as militias go. And there you go. The explicitly not affiliated with Black Lives Matter, explicitly denouncing accusations of being protesters or demonstrators. They're like, nope, we are not that. We are a militia, and I am the Grand General or whatever. So significant
Grand Master.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I forget.
I think you said it was the Grand Master.
No, it did confuse me. I thought it was interesting because that Grand Master sounds like an allusion to the Ku Klux Klan, but it's NFAC founder, and his name is Grandmaster Jay.
Oh, his name is Grandmaster Jay.
A rapper or DJ or something. Okay. But what did he call himself? Scanning. Commanding General. He is the commanding general of his militia. So there you go. Very interesting. So you've got two seemingly diametrically opposed in establishment and what they sort of claim association with, one specifically being an arm of Black Lives Matter movement, the other explicitly stating that they have nothing to do with Black Lives Matter and protesting is not their thing, although this seems to be in some definition of protest. But there you go. Some more Second Amendment exercising for these black groups in general. I thought it was interesting how he made a distinction that it was all black people, no white or brown people. So, very focused on the homogeny of this black militia. Any other thoughts? Is there any comparisons or contrasts that stand out to you here?
The race war. I've warned you and warned you and warned you.
All I'll say.
Yeah. So there you go. And it's hard because, like I said, it's really hard to find, especially about this not effing around coalition. It's really hard to find stories, actual articles, especially from mainstream. If you start searching these things, it's all, sort of off-brand blogs and counter media, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But part of what we like to do is see exactly how they're being represented in the mainstream. And what this showed me is that they're not being represented at all. The mainstream does not like this. The mainstream, you got to remember, the mainstream's job is to keep the status quo or to, take marching orders from their political interests, and it seems like that their political interests are not interested in letting the general public know about this type of thing happening, and which is not surprising as far as the mainstream goes, because the mainstream in general does not like the idea of militias. Because, of course, guns are evil and will kill people without regard. Without
humans involved. The guns just kill people.
So they don't like that. And if they do mention a militia, which occasionally happens throughout the years, they are they are presented as, crazy domestic terrorists. So, you in the case where the mainstream is in the position to support Black Lives Matter under all costs, they can't have that clashing with the status quo of militias being domestic terrorists. So they can't make that connection. They won't mention it. I don't know what would have to happen for this to become a mainstream story, but it's conflicting with the average story, the main story, the big narrative that they're trying to craft for this whole sort of moment of unrest.
Cool.
Booyah. Okay, I've rambled enough about that, but thank you for letting me do it.
We got a couple more here. I'm going to drop one of the stories, running short on time.
Oh, yeah, I see your
but
little note
I have
there.
to share this. Yeah, I have to share this because this is very funny.
Okay.
USAtoday.com. Fact check. Trump campaign accused of T-shirt design with similarity to Nazi eagle.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and it's the claim, Trump campaign shirts feature Imperial Eagle, a Nazi symbol.
Oh, geez.
President Donald Trump's campaign website recently unveiled a T-shirt that has come under fire because of perceived design similarities between its logo and a Nazi symbol.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now.
And,
haven't they ever seen a dollar bill or a quarter or something? It's the exact same eagle, and that's a long-standing comparison. We've always compared those. But suddenly,
I love this quote here.
Yeah, okay.
Response from the Trump campaign. Quote, "This is moronic. In Democrats' America, Mount Rushmore glorifies white supremacy, and the bald eagle," hold on, honey, "the bald eagle with an American flag is a Nazi symbol. They have lost their minds." And what's hilarious about this is that the USA Today article, I don't know if it was this particular one, but they basically concluded that it is. That they agree that it is the Nazi eagle.
Of course they did.
Oh, they changed it. They changed it to inconclusive. It was conclusive that it was a...
they always do that, man. They always go back and change the story on us.
They change it. But my point was that, no, it's not even... both of these occasions are wrong. It's all about the phoenix.
Wow.
Dying and rising phoenix, right?
Yeah.
So you got something there. But, to... evade that conversation, let's just accuse the Trump campaign with the American eagle as the Nazi eagle.
Yeah.
I just thought it was hilarious.
That's so funny. Yeah,
totally unfounded.
Look at your money.
Ridiculous.
There's Nazi eagles everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, look at all Art Deco government buildings. They're all covered with these Nazi eagles.
Yeah, so one more quick story.
Nazi eagles.
Yeah, one more quick story here. I was hoping to spend more time on this, but this is the Nerdist.com. Virtual reality time machine made with 65 days of video. Mm-hmm. San Francisco-based inventor and speaker Lucas Risotto has built a virtual reality time machine, with quotes, that allows him to relive his past. And while time machine is, of course, just a moniker, Risotto's invention still allows him to experience his recent life in a way most likely nobody ever has. A way that allows Risotto to view 360 days worth of stereoscopic video through a virtual reality portal in time. And in short, basically what he did was he created a VR space there, and he took video that he took on his Snap spectacles, and he went back and relived that time.
Yeah.
And, it's really not that compelling. He made it sound more compelling than it really was.
Yeah, it's just 365 days of recordings that he could go back
to.
Yeah.
He said, where it says here, perhaps the most intriguing and haunting feeling Risotto described in the video is that of feeling like his, quote, own ghost, watching himself wandering through life with no idea of what's going to happen next.
That's very interesting. I will make the direct comparison to the show on Amazon Prime, The Feed, which in which case everybody has this going on, and not only can you revisit your own memories, but you can revisit other people's memories.
and I will compare it to your high 8 video of your birthday party from 1984, and just watching it again. It's just, it's really not that different.
You're so old, man.
I know. It's just one of those things that they're glorifying the VR to make it sound like it's more than it really is. When, I mean, I get it, it's first person, but other than that, it's really not that compelling.
Yeah.
But of course, time machine, virtual reality time machine.
Okay.
To make
Very
things
good.
sound cooler than they are.
Well, Gons, we wanted to end the show on a tell me something good moment.
Oh, we can still do that.
We can, but I will say whenever we do need to doctor up this jingle a little bit, because we do immediately get a copyright strike. So
that's right.
So if I think we might be playing
with fire,
playing with fire by playing it again. But I don't know if you want to take the strike, you're welcome to.
Hold on.
This is great. Yeah.
There we go. Okay. Hopefully that's not going to catch the algos.
Yeah, wow, so tricky. Well, there you go. Okay, you got anything for Tell Me Something Good, Guns?
3 months till I have a son.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
I will say it's just weird. I have a 19-year-old stepdaughter, a 3-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
I know how to raise girls. I don't know how to raise a boy.
You're going on a whole new journey. Well,
and it's funny because the wife told me the other day, she goes, I have no idea how to potty train a boy. And I said,
sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to have to get a book or something. Yeah, go ahead. What was that?
No, it's crazy because we've been in this corona, the past 6 months have just flown by like crazy.
I know. It goes by so fast.
The past 6 months since all this feels simultaneously like it's been like 2 weeks, but also 5 years. So it's really wild. And I can't believe it's already been almost 6 months that you've had a little bun in the oven there.
I know, it's crazy. And the weird thing is I was telling my wife, we were having the conversation, based on just, going through a birth of a child, and you haven't had the privilege yet.
No.
But it's funny because the women have a very different experience from the men, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling her how it's this like crazy existential experience, at least for me it was, because it made me think about like Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel and like the entire human race and the perpetuation of life and this process. It was the first time also just seeing the whole thing. Mm-hmm. It made me think like, oh my gosh, we're aliens. We're aliens. There's no way we are, it was just the strangest existential crisis for me to see that in real time, because it's the creation of life is quite the miracle. And I would have to say that there is no way that we're not designed by someone.
Yeah.
There's just no way.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Very good.
Yes.
All right. Well, that is something good. I don't have anything better than that, except for my new kitten does now consistently use the litter box. So that's always good news. Speaking of potty training. Yeah. Flippy Official in the chat has some advice for potty training your boy. And they say point and shoot. So.
Yes.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to wrap this show up here. Man, a little bit of a long one. We didn't think we were going to go long, but we went long.
I told you we were going to go long. You never listened to anything.
Happens every time. So thanks for sticking with us, those who stuck around. And make sure to pop in and subscribe to the RSS feed. You can find Canary Cry News Talk on any of your podcatchers. And because if you came in late to the live stream, you want to get the rest of the show. So make sure to listen to the podcast version, higher quality, and all the fun still included. Now, remember, we need some producers for Wednesday. We barely skated by with our producers for this show, who are Chad and Wesley. Thank you very much. And if you want to help produce the show, head to patreon.com/CCNT for Canary Cry News Talk. That's patreon.com/CCNT. Or if commitment's not your thing, you can head over to canarycryradio.com canary.com/support.
CanaryCryRadio.com/support.
That's right. And there you can sign up with PayPal or do a one-time support thing there, and also some cryptocurrency. Thank you to everybody who supported the show. Remember, you can make art, send it to us, make jingles, songs, anything related to the show. We will put it on the show, and we love it. Make sure to check out our Facebook page. You can just search Canary Cry Radio on Facebook to see past art, all sorts of good stuff. And remember, another great way to support the show is leaving ratings and reviews wherever you listen to it, especially on Apple Podcasts and other outlets like that. It really helps spread the show, tells the algorithms to share it. It's actually quite important. So that's a great way to help support, and we'll read some good reviews on the show. So please do that. But y'all know the best way to support the show is to realize that you have friends and family waking up right now in your life, and they just need a little nudge. And a great way of doing that is to send them an episode of Canary Cry News Talk. We will help guide them into the world of fringy wokeness. And if you need help figuring out how to do that, you just walk right up to them, grab them by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right, just ask Noah. So there you go, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, we will be back on Wednesday, so remember us if you're out there thinking about becoming a producer. Now's the time. But Wednesday, sometime between noon and 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we'll be back. Make sure to turn on your notifications, or make sure to subscribe to the podcast so you can just get it when it's there. And that's a great way to do it. Okay, everybody, remember, stick around. We got the Canary Cry mixtape at the end of the show. And tune in on Wednesday. But until then, all together now, think outside the cage.
Son of a bee sting.
Look it up.
I'll keep you warm and safe in my people zoo.
Stop this progress before it is too late.
We should invite fewer people to be born.
I want to shake things up, shake things up. I want to shake things up, shake things up. Leave the bird alone. I want to stir up some controversy. I want to rattle a few cages. I want to rattle a few cages. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. A crusader for the little guy. Little guy. Little guy. Well, we'll see about that.
Whatever, Illuminati.
You are entering.
In the future, humans will be confined in a people's zoo.
I'll keep you safe and warm in my people's zoo. I'll keep you safe and warm now in my people's zoo. You, yeah, you in my people's zoo. I'll keep the cameras on.
Keep you warm and safe in my people zoo.
melt those babies into candles.
I'll make you fat and sassy in my people's zoo. I'll make you fat and sassy in my people's zoo. You get you. You get you. You get you in my people's zoo.
I tried to tell you. I'll keep you warm and safe in my people's zoo.